Maybe there's a certain echelon of them that have interactions with, for lack of a better phrase, evil aliens. Trump swam in those circles as a blackmailer more than a blackmailee. Maybe the only bad trip I've ever had. When you take the edge of our scientific understanding of the universe out that far, you're right up against religion. Promiscuous, dumb with my dick. QAnon people found my shit and started spreading my shit. They like were super down with it. Psychedelics can overwhelm some people's brains really quickly. Hundreds of millions of people would starve to death. You get that villain treatment for long enough and you start to love the villain.
Ian Carroll, how are you, my friend?
Good, man. It's a fun morning.
I just want to start off by saying you have some really good genes.
Thanks, man. I do. I'm definitely genetically blessed.
That shirt looks good on you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good idea. I've never had one.
Yeah. I messaged Ian the other day and I was like, dude, we got to back Sydney Sweeney up. we're gonna come in wearing badass denim. We got the whole works. You can't see it.
Yeah, you can't see the jeans.
We got the jeans, some cool kicks to go with them.
You got to subscribe to my OnlyFans if you want those jeans. Those are paid content.
I learned how hard it is to find a denim button-down shirt, though.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah, especially if you don't want to buy it from a company owned by Jeffrey Epstein's associates. Or,
yeah, we were just talking
whatever.
right before we started. And, you know, if you know Ian, if you don't know Ian, you've been living under a rock. But he knows he can draw, he can trace back every business from what we see at face value, and he can trace it all the way back to who really fucking owns this thing and what are their, you know, political beliefs and what is their agenda. So,
yeah. And did they work with Jeffrey Epstein?
And did they work? Everything traces back to Jeffrey Epstein.
Hollister sure does.
Anyways, thank you for coming, brother. I appreciate you so much for taking time out of
Totally.
your day.
It's kind of a long time in the making.
Yeah.
So I was traveling for a little bit.
I mean, like I said earlier, everybody pretty much knows who Ian Carroll is at this point. You bursted out onto the scene a few years ago. I remember I was doom scrolling on my phone, and I was like, all of a sudden this dude pops up with this amazing head of hair and a badass fucking mustache. And you got the screen behind you, and then your face is kind of superimposed into the front of it. And he's kind of just like pointing here. And then I, you know, turn the volume up like, what is this? And next thing you know, within 30 seconds, you're automatically a big fan of you.
Thanks, man.
You found a great way to research like so many different topics. When I was preparing for this podcast, you know, typically with a guest, I'll kind of like go back to the beginning of their, you know, when they kind of came out on the scene. I'll try to figure out as much as I can before that, and then kind of figure out where they've been going here. With you, you're all over the map.
Yep.
Like, it's crazy, dude.
Story of my life.
I might have like 4 or 5. Maybe 6 or 7 different topics with guests that I want to hit. With yours, I mean, I got 17 different topics, and that's not even.
That's scratching the surface.
I had to stop because there was so much stuff, and I don't know how you fit all of this into your brain. I don't know how much time you spend researching, or if you have a team out there that's helping you, or if it's just you
just
until
me.
3 a.m.
Me and a laptop.
Yeah,
and I don't think I do fit it all into my brain. A lot of it sticks once I work with it enough, and I purposely I take notes. I purposefully do the kinds of things you do in school to remember things theoretically. Okay. And I bring that into my own life. So I it's like self-designed study. And the more I work with any given topic, the more it sticks. But there's some stuff that I bet you'll pull up some stuff from way back that I'll kind of remember, but also be a little fuzzy on because you just learn so much.
So you're just taking notes on a notepad or your laptop?
No, I found at first I wasn't taking notes. At first I was just researching and then making a video straight off the computer screen, just taking screenshots taking photos with my phone. And then my camera was just getting crazy. And I realized that I'm just letting all this knowledge just float away if I don't keep it all somewhere organized. And I found this program called Obsidian it's like visual. So I can drop screenshots in and I can do text notes and I can connect things with lines. And so I've got this giant Obsidian file with all these different note files for all different topics that just keep expanding and expanding and expanding.
So with your notes, do you just copy and paste them? I understand you're organizing it. It's kind of like a blueprint of what's going on in your brain. But do you go back and read them? Because I always find myself, I take a ton of notes, but I never go back and actually reread them.
I do. I don't really. I do occasionally go back and I actually do often, I guess, go back and read them to refresh the topic without exactly doing anything with it other than relearning. But but I also go back and reuse it all for other videos.
Okay.
So I'm sort of inherently always going back into those notes and sorting back through them. So I'm like, some files I rarely revisit because they're just so niche. But like, for example, the Jeffrey Epstein note file I've got is ever expanding, and I'm always re-referencing it and adding to it. And I get pretty damn familiar with those files. So there's a lot of things where like I know exactly where I have that one Mint Press News article about Ronald Lauder and the Mega Group, and I know where I've got that section about like the Dimona nuclear facility, and it's just, and that's like comes from my background, my parents being teachers and me working in education early on, is I kind of structure my whole process around the way that I would if I was teaching myself as a teacher, because like that's really, I mean, that's the goal, is to learn,
Right.
and so I just kind of for as one example, you said like, do you like take notes, do you copy paste, like how do you? I purposely try not to copy and paste, even if it's like right there, and I could just copy it. Like even if I just want that quote to go into the notes, I know that I will learn more if I type it back out
Physically
word by word, because then all those words go through your brain. You have the tactile, your motor cortex is firing for typing it, all these other things. So I purposely do things that are often more laborious. Like I don't really use AI very much. Occasionally to find sources now. But I still purposely go through the longer way, because I know that in the long run, doing the work now to put it down in a more complex way will keep it in my brain longer term.
I did see that video you put. I think when did you put that video up on Obsidian?
Probably a while, probably like a year and a half ago now, I would imagine, if it's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah. Where I started talking about the process and like how to learn and why I do it this way.
Yeah. So is that one gigantic living document, or
it's multiple?
It's multiple.
So that each of those webs of notes is one tab, and I've got like over 100 tabs. I'm sure.
So it's just like per topic, files. You have a different. And I mean, it's a cool the way you showed it on your video. You can zoom in real big, and then you can zoom out, and
it's infinite in every direction.
If you ever seen the movie The Accountant with Ben Affleck,
I've not.
You ever seen it? Well, you guys have similar brains as the character in the thing, but so when they bring him in, he basically, his job is to audit like these large companies, and they're trying to figure out where this money went or whatever. So he doesn't just like follow that. He starts at the beginning of the company and he starts drawing this huge map. Yeah, it's just a movie, but
that's how you got to do it.
Yeah, that's how I got the impression with you. And by the end of it, and he figures out where it is. It's just this gigantic matrix.
And I honestly aspire to get more and more like that, because my whole thing, like my slogan was follow the money from the start, which is not highly original, but it is, I think, very important. That, I mean, it's a cliche for a reason, because money is what runs everything. And if you want to understand a system, you have to understand how the money is flowing and who's flowing that money in and where it's going. And so I don't have a lot of financial expertise, but right from the start, I've tried to find a story and always figure out like who owns these different elements, who's funding these different things, where's the money flowing. And that really does, you can get really granular on that. And there's a lot of skill involved.
Okay, so go back. You said you used to be a teacher?
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny backstory, because I'm a high school dropout. I have no college degree, no teaching certificate or anything, but my parents were both teacher educators. And when
they let you be a high school dropout?
Yeah, it was a funny conversation. They knew it was coming. Like they knew I was going to drop out before I knew I was going to drop out. And there was a lot of like complicated. It was like I got sick and missed a bunch of classes, and I was going to have to wind up going back for an extra semester to finish it all. And I was like, fuck that.
Yeah.
But I started volunteering as an improv theater teacher when I was 14. So I left the middle school and went to high school. I'd gone to this like cool little middle school my mom was the principal at the time. And I came back and volunteered as the teacher of the improv theater group that I had been in when I was there. And then the next year, that became a paid job. And then the next year I started doing after school stuff. And then the next year I started doing assistant teaching stuff. And then the next year I was doing summer stuff. And so that job expanded into all these different like low-key teaching jobs. And then the parents of those kids, like over the next 10 years, gave me basically recommended me into a few different jobs that I sort of like quietly hopped between unofficial teaching jobs at really cool like little private schools and weird alternative schools. Everything from like teaching rock climbing to teaching math and Spanish to leading backpacking trips. And then like the very last one I ever did was an outdoor education program for a homeschool cooperative, where I was teaching the middle schoolers outdoor ed, where we basically just like went outside and built brush shelters and made fires and like just hung out in the woods.
And this was all up in Washington State?
Yeah, Washington State.
Yeah, that's where
I did do a little bit in Guatemala. I did a travel teaching teaching program that I was telling you about earlier today, like a little gap year program teaching fourth grade in Guatemala, which was a whole different experience.
Yeah, tell them about learning Spanish so you could get out of.
Yeah, I mean, I learned Spanish through. I had some really good Spanish teachers. I mean, I was very privileged in my education. My parents, being teachers, we didn't have a ton of money, but I had great education.
What are you, a Nazi?
Yeah, I mean, have you seen my jeans, dude? Tall German. I mean, I don't have the blonde hair.
Privileged education.
But yeah, I mean, how do you think you get good genes, bro? Obviously. And so like that education went a long ways. And I didn't realize when I was young, but like it makes a world of difference just having, as a young person, being engaged in learning and enjoying it and like challenged by it. And so by the time I got to high school, I went in 2 grades ahead in Spanish as one example. And that Spanish class was so boring that I got taken to the principal's office like halfway through the first semester. And I'll never forget this. Senora like walks me into the principal's office and she doesn't tell me why. She's like, Chico, could you come with me? And she like walks me all the way down. It's all silent. I'm all like, what the fuck's going on? She sits me down in the principal's office and she just turns to the vice principal that's there at the time. And she says, I think this Chico's on something. Like I'm on drugs.
Oh shit.
Because I was like so bored with her class that I was like swishing my hair around on the desk and just like being a retarded ADHD teenager.
What
I'd never done a drug in my life at that point yet. But I was so bored with her class that she thought I was stoned. And I just cracked up and like told the vice principal how boring her class was and was like, this is retarded. Like, and he kind of got it. But it made a huge difference getting that early education at those early ages. Cause then by the time I finished high school, I was like, as Spanish being the example, I traveled with this little alternative high school I wound up at for one semester, got some experience in Spanish speaking world. And it really like woke me up to how useful of a skill that is to be able to communicate with other people. So after high school, when I traveled, I was already pretty close. And I was teaching fourth graders that were in a little Mayan village. And their first language is a language called Quichiquel, which is a Mayan dialect. Their second language is Spanish. And my second language is Spanish. So we're teaching in Spanish, which is both of our second language. But when you have like 40 fourth graders in a room, like throwing plastic chairs at each other, like they have zero discipline. They're fucking Mayan kids that come from the fields. They work all day. Like they don't give a fuck. And so you learn pretty dang quick to like, either you learn to command respect in this language that, you know, you need to learn, or it's hell every day and it's total chaos. So I learned pretty quick.
Mayan kids. So were you down there by the Mayan pyramids down there?
I mean, all of like, you go like, I mean, honestly, the northern border of Mexico all the way down, you're talking, that's all like all the native people down there are Aztec, and then Mayan is a huge part of Mexico and all the way through Central America. So there's all these different Mayan cultures all scattered out there. And there are Mayan pyramids all across Guatemala that are super cool.
There's hundreds of them, right? Or thousands.
Yeah,
right?
I got a cool opportunity to hike some of them. So there's the one that everyone's seen, the one on the postcard that's called Tikal, that like is the grass is all cleared around, it's all touristy, and there's like 3 pyramids.
Is that what the dragon comes down at night, or the shadows?
Maybe it could be. I don't know. The Mayan people weren't so big on dragons as like Asian people were, but yeah, they were big on snakes.
Snake, yeah.
But then I also, in high school, when I went for this 1-month trip, we did a 8-day hike, maybe it was a 7-day hike through the Petén jungle, which is the northern part of Guatemala. It's like drug smuggling central, where all the drugs travel north into Mexico. But that jungle used to be the epicenter of the Mayan civilization. And it's just completely flat for miles, like hundreds of miles in every direction. It's ocean to ocean, basically. It's just one giant flat swamp. And then there's these pyramids that are like lurking in the jungle, but they've all been overgrown. So you climb one pyramid and you look off way into the distance and you can see this tiny little like lump in the trees. And that's the next pyramid that you're hiking to for like the next night's camp.
Jeez.
And it's all still being excavated. The biggest, the largest pyramid in the world so far discovered by mass, not like the tallest, but the most massive, is called La Danta, and it is in the city of Mirador, which is in that Petén jungle. And we went and visited it, and like they were like the archaeologists were there doing excavations that came out in like Smithsonian 3 years later. It was super interesting, and I was like 17, just like, what the fuck is going on?
How long were you?
Howler monkeys out every night.
That's
cool.
Do you ever see any jaguars?
I never saw any jaguars.
No?
I've seen some mountain lions that we were talking about earlier today.
They have mountain lions down there too?
No, I mean, well, they do have mountain lions down there. I didn't see any down there, but I've seen mountain lions up here. But no, down there it was all, we were trying to see tapirs. Didn't see any tapirs.
No?
No, they'd be cool though.
Well, that's cool. So how long were you down there? What time? How old were you when you left?
I went to Guatemala for the first time when I was 16, I think. I would have been a junior in high school.
Yeah.
And that was a 1-month trip with that high school that we like did ourselves. And then I went back as a gap year program when I was, I guess, 17 or 18 for 6 months. And then that was so cool. I was telling you earlier today how I did this teaching thing for 5 months, I think. And then the last month I got a job at a hotel and bar. And that was like, and that kind of like teased me into travel work, this whole like being able to travel and work indefinitely. And I met all these people that were doing that.
Like a tourist bar and hotel?
So, yeah, sort of, right? And on those tourist trails, like Central America is a big one that a lot of Americans will like go and just like fall off into the travel life, or Southeast Asia, like, you know, the Thailand, Vietnam kind of stuff. Yeah. A lot of Americans kind of fall into those places and just like go away for 5 years because they're just traveling and working at bars and shit.
Yeah.
And it was real interesting. So I came back to the States, earned enough money to get out of here. And then like, I think a year or two later, I just like went back. So I've been back to Guatemala like probably 5 or 6 times now, and probably accumulated like 3 years of travel time, give or take.
How many kids you got over there?
Hopefully none. That's a joke. I'm sure I don't have any. I've actually, one of my greater blessings in this career path and just in life in general is that I've never been like promiscuous or like dumb with my dick, which is like such a blessing now to not like be making dumb mistakes like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a new girlfriend, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess new. At this point, it feels like we've been together for forever, and it's awesome because we went on this big, like, we traveled together for like the last 4 or 5 months, and it was like the biggest crash course in a relationship you could ever have. It was cool.
Yeah, Ian. So we get down to the trail today. I've never seen Ian's car, and he pulls up in this minivan with one of those. What do you call the thing?
Like a rocket box.
A rocket box on top. And it's not like a new minivan.
No.
Yeah, like Ian's got millions of people that listen to his stuff every single day, and he pulls up in like this like soccer mom mobile.
It was $2,500 on Craigslist. He offered it to me for $2,000, and I was like, "This thing is so sick, dude! It's gonna get me so far. I got to give you extra." And so like the box on top cost almost half as much as the minivan.
I was gonna say.
And my whole life fits in that minivan. I travel with a table inside of it and a door and big piece of artwork, all of like my camera equipment. I got rock climbing gear in there, 2 ropes. I got running gear. I got all sorts of shit in there. We fit it all in, plus me, the girlfriend, 2 dogs.
2 dogs?
2 dogs.
What kind of dog?
I got a bigger dog, and she has a tiny little like alien looking dog that's super cute.
Okay.
So it fits all right. But yeah, we just like fit it all in and then drive Airbnb to Airbnb.
See all these people that watch your videos and stuff, you know, you think it's just like this glamorous life, and this guy's living in a penthouse. No, he's living out of it.
I mean, to be fair, it is glamorous, and I'm super lucky, and I could super easily have monetized 10 times as hard.
Yeah.
And I could have, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank right now, I'm sure, if I had been motivated to do so. I just am not. And I know too, like, it's also strategic in the sense that I knew from the beginning that you can either monetize as hard and as early as possible and kind of expend that social capital by just shilling shit and making money, or you can stay higher integrity and build a stronger base for longer and have the much longer career. And I had such a meteoric rise that I knew from the start that I was not in any rush. I knew that it was going to keep going up, and that as long as I stayed, you know, true to what I want to do and like working hard and, you know, learning things and sharing it, I knew that it was like, I'll be fine, and the whole thing will just grow more. So I don't need to like rush to.
Well, that's the one thing you can see with your work. It's super genuine. It's super real.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And you're not sold out to anybody. You speak your mind regardless of the consequences. And so you leave Guatemala for good. How old are you here? 24?
The last time I was in Guatemala was when I was in the car. I would have been 26, I think.
26.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe 27 by the time I got home.
So between then, 26, 27, now you're 32 going on 33.
Yeah.
That's a very short amount of time for you to take over the fucking...
I mean, it was even faster than that. Like, because I got back. So what I was referring to being in the car, I had gotten into my Subaru and gone on this big climbing trip because I thought I was going to be some hotshot rock climber, and I wanted to impress a girl at the time. And and I like went off like soul searching and like lived out of my Subaru for 6 months, like driving down through the deserts of the US, down to Texas, down to Mexico, to Guatemala, and then all the way back up. Got really into running on that trip. And so I got back probably like 2017, 2018, and then spent a couple years, did a little more teaching for a second, got really into this one school I was working at, got really into rock climbing even more, got really into ultra running, and I was cooking for my work for the most part at that point, getting into pretty nice like fancy restaurants. But I spent 3 years or so before COVID, after getting back from that. And I still have never researched a thing in my life. I've never made a video in my life. Like, that's all pre social media. And then by the time COVID hit, that was when, for me, like, I started asking questions and thinking more critically and stepping out of like the liberal bubble that my brain had kind of been raised in. And then it was during COVID, I still didn't even start until 2023.
Yeah.
So I've only been doing this for like 2 years, 2.5 years almost.
That's crazy, dude.
It was meteoric. The first 3 months. So I started on TikTok. In the first 3 months on TikTok, I averaged, because I tracked it every single day. I would track my followers, and I was very like.
That's where you started TikTok?
Yeah, I started on TikTok May 5th of 2023, and I tracked every day, and the graph was fucking crazy. It was 300,000 followers a month for the first 3 months, and then I started talking about Jeffrey Epstein and a little bit about Israel and the CIA, and it just like.
And was it always the same model where you're flashing something on the screen and you're just kind of like going down the rabbit hole?
Yeah, and that was not abnormal on TikTok. That was pretty regular on TikTok. Okay. And so I didn't realize I was doing it. I wasn't doing anything novel or new. I was just doing kind of what everyone else on TikTok was doing. I also was doing
I don't watch TikTok.
Exactly. And like, fuck TikTok, honestly. Like, TikTok's horrible. But I knew I had been studying the game for about a year in advance, and I was thinking I was going to get into like ultra running content. I'd been playing with that a little bit. Because you kind of think like I knew I wanted to get into content creation of some sort because I've just got like a lot of skill sets and experience that goes well with it. But I had been thinking for how most people would think of like what makes me special, or like what do I do that no one else does that's like interesting and novel. And I was thinking like, oh, ultra running. And I was like doing this cool ultra running guiding job at the time where I was like taking runners out into the woods for days at a time in these crazy places where I had all this access. But it's ultimately, I realized through that year that it's like, A, that's a shitload of work to make content out in the woods, like doing these big adventures, because like you need a new big adventure for every piece of content kind of. And B, it also like gets in the way of the adventure. It's like, oh, I want to be out here with my friends. And instead I'm like, okay, you stand there and I'm going to get this shot. And like, we need to redo it and like climb back up real quick. And it's like, fuck that. And then I also started to realize as I stripped away all these like pretensions about what should I do online and what do I want to do. And I realized that like, this is going to be my job every day. So if I want to do this, my job every day, it's like I don't want to have to adventure. I want to be able to go adventure. Like what I want to do every day is learn. Right. And so it was like partway through it, I did this big pivot and realized like what I actually want to do is learn. And the way that happens is by like finding sources, researching, learning, reading, and then sharing that information. And so it was really natural to get to that format of like sharing my sources. Because like I'm not an expert. I'm just like, have you seen what I've seen? This is crazy. Yeah. And so when I brought that to X and brought that to Instagram and brought that out, it was like, it seemed novel, I think, because I don't think anyone had really broken out of that like TikTok green screen world into this more mainstream space yet.
So how did you start to pick up traction on those platforms though?
On the other platforms?
Yeah.
A lot of luck and a little bit of skill. So I was on TikTok for quite some time and I started to get my growth changed a lot. I started to get shadow banned, a lot of strikes. TikTok is very censored and wild. And I had a couple really good influences and friends that were in the game that occasionally would message me things. There's one in particular that I'll never forget. She's like, messaged me as like, don't get lost in TikTok. Like, don't get lost in the drama. Don't get lost in these back and forths. Like, branch out, do other platforms, do other things. You're so much bigger than this. Like, don't get pigeonholed into one thing. And eventually something happened on TikTok where I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll start one of these X accounts. And the first like month that I got my X account and started to get serious about that, the Diddy case, the Diddy lawsuit from Lil Rob was filed. And I had just been all up in these Epstein lawsuits around. It might have been the Ghislaine Maxwell trial had happened that January or something like that. So I just joined X and I was like in all these X spaces and being treated like an expert in X spaces on Epstein, even though like realistically I was pretty new to it all at that point. But we'd been digging through all of the logs and all of the transcripts and the court documents. And so then when these new court documents dropped, I was like already very ready to like drop right into the court documents. And I got in there quick and early and started reporting on it and did some pretty solid reporting on both on Diddy and his operation, but then also on connections to Michael Jackson. And Candace picked it up. I guess that she had watched my content or someone had shown it to her. And when Candace picked up my content on X, it blew up very quickly. And then I passed the 100,000 threshold on X super fast because I got all these really great stories. And also, side note, when I first got on X, all the QAnon people found my shit and started spreading my shit. And they like were super down with me. And I didn't know anything about Q at the time. I didn't know anything about them. And they were just so fun and funny and interesting.
Right.
And most of them are like super based, like back to nature, like love your family, like get grounded, like get sunshine. They're like that kind of like eco hippie kind of people a lot of times. And they're obviously all different kinds of people, but they're actually like really cool. And so I kind of just like made friends with them. I was like, cool, like that's weird. That's not what I was expecting. But they did a whole bunch of kind of sharing my stuff and being hyped on me right when I got there. And so it was like group after group, people kind of helped me and grew me and supported me and just like shared my stuff. And I also knew like there's a certain amount of strategy of like on X, everyone's posting text. And if you're the one posting videos that are interesting, you already stand out from the crowd.
Right.
And it's like, I'm probably not going to follow your account if I just read 2 sentences that are like cool, 2 sentences, but a scroll. Yeah. But if you see a video creator over and over and over, it's like, you're going to go to that video creator for those videos.
And you got to get to know their face too.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So there's a little bit of everything, but I just kind of like, I managed to get very lucky in my timing of when I joined these different platforms and what was going on them. And then also a good bit of skill of just like looking at the landscape and figuring out how it works and trying my best to just like leverage the way the system works and what we all want to see.
And so is it just you and a laptop or do you have guys?
I do have a little bit of a team now, but up until like 2 months ago, it's just been me the whole time, just doing my thing from editing the videos to filming, learning all the stuff. It's just like, I want to learn how to do it all. But I did, earlier this year, I started working with Bigly for my website because my clothing website that I was selling clothes like on the side had broken and I was fucking it up and like people's orders were like 3 months late and I was trying to deal with customer support and they were not sucked. So Bigly took over my clothing and they're awesome. I love the Bigly guys. And I plan to expand that more. And then so that took that whole thing off my plate. And then as I've been growing the YouTube lately, getting really into YouTube, just like the last 3 weeks, I started working with 2 really good friends that are super dope that are helping me with like editing YouTube clips and thumbnails and just kind of like all the extra YouTube support. So it'll grow slowly, but I like not forcing it and pushing it. It's really important that you work with people that you jive with. Yeah. You know?
So how many days or how many hours out of the day would you say you actually like research?
It really depends on the phase of like life I'm in, as in like which time of the month and what I'm like, what's going on. Like when I live in one place for a whole month, which is usually like I'm doing an Airbnb 1 month at a time, then move in 1 month at a time kind of. And so when I have a whole month in one place, I get pretty locked in and it can be like kind of all day, every day. Like when I, for example, lived in Nashville and was working the Candace show, she was on maternity leave and I took over for a month and a half.
That's right.
And at that point, it was like, partially because I also had this schedule to uphold to their show, but also because I was like there for a whole month locked in with like, that was what I was doing. It was like literally dawn to dusk every single day. Like I'm either writing the script for the next one, researching this topic, or I'm like all sorts of stuff. But then there's also times where like right after that, I had to like go to my like best friend's wedding from when I was a kid and then go visit my family and then go visit friends in Idaho. So I was doing all this traveling and ultimately like maybe out of, you know, those 3 weeks, a lot of those days I didn't get any research done. I didn't get to do anything because I was doing all sorts of shit.
But it's cool that you have something that you can take a break if you need to spend time with
Super
friends
flexible.
and family. Yeah.
But like the cool thing about the job is that in a certain way, everything is research.
Yeah.
Because it's not just like the job is not just do you know the most about like that government document and that CIA program and this, like it's not just information. It's also like cultural ideas. It's also like trends and it's like philosophical things about how to be a person, because if you could deliver the exact same information in 2 different videos, and in one video you could be relaxed and fulfilled and like confident and just like in a good place in your life because you've been doing like spiritual work, you've been working out every morning, you've been getting sunshine, and in the other video you could be stressed and underslept and poorly fed and just like jittery and shitty,
right? And
like that shows, right? So it's like there's a certain element of video creation that is like a whole life endeavor. And so I try not to get too like framed in on you have to do it this way, like just like get the like just research, because there's this much more like holistic approach to it all that I think is really important.
Yeah, you have to be balanced in all areas of your life. Even me, this is what my 12th episode, and I can already tell the difference in if I'm not feeling it or I don't have enough energy because I just worked a long shift or whatever it is. But now, even if I have, because I'm still working real jobs, you know what I mean, and so. Even knowing that, I'll make sure I get a little bit extra sleep. I'll make sure I get my workout in that morning to make sure it gives me enough energy to get through the day and have that extra energy when I get here in the evenings, and because last thing you want to do is you have a great guest that's got a great story and he's full of life energy and you got nothing to give him. And it's not, it's like nothing against them. It's just, we're busy. So yeah, I definitely feel you on that. But
I mean, especially with podcasting, like a lot of what I do is solo. And so there are definitely days where I'm like dragging, but then it's like, all right, just get through this video. Just click record and just fucking turn it on for 20 minutes here and then go veg out and go to sleep. And I can pull that off. But it's like when you're trying to do podcasts with guests, it's like, oh man, that's a whole other level of having to be engaged.
It's a lot of research, and I want to do my due diligence. I feel like you owe it to the guests. If they're going to take time out of their day to come on your show, then you better be giving it your effort. And if they have a book, you better be reading that book.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I like it. Dude, my whole life, I've kind of like avoided a lot of topics just because I realize how much energy it's going to take if I start going down that rabbit hole. So like politics, I try to stay out of my whole life. I never wanted to get engaged in those conversations. People started talking about it. I'm going to go find somewhere else to hang out, but it's like, it's part of my everyday life. The older you get, politics just becomes everywhere. You can't hide from it anymore.
Life is politics.
You have to learn to, fuck it. If I can't, what is that saying? If you can't fucking beat them, join them, kind of thing or whatever. So I'm like, all right, fuck. So now it's a crash course for me. I'm trying to play catch up on a lot of these things. I've always found, controversial topics or quote unquote conspiracy theories. I found those very interesting. Space, I love space. Like today on our hike, we stopped and we did a video on Alex's Live X where we were talking about that AI Atlas comet or potentially an alien mothership that's headed our way. It's like 7 miles in diameter, this gigantic interstellar object that is hurtling through our Milky Way galaxy. Yeah. And this is probably like, I don't know, 700 times the size of that Oumuamua comet that came in a while back, which everybody thought that was a UFO. So stuff like that I find fascinating. Not so much the UFO topics, but like just space in general. Like
stuff we don't know the answers to.
Well,
it's so interesting.
It's the idea of space, It's our galaxy is 100 million light years across, estimated. Okay. Imagine that if you're traveling at the speed of light, the fastest speed known in the universe, it will take you 100 million years to get just from the edge of our galaxy to the other edge.
That's just one galaxy.
And that's just one galaxy.
Yeah.
In a gigantic ocean of galaxies out there. And so, once I started to wrap my head around that, I always had this picture in my mind when I was a kid where, like if you had a laser pointer, we used to play with those red laser pointers, and I would point it up into the night sky, and I would imagine if that laser pointer could just keep going, and it would never stop. Even if it hit a planet, it would go through the planet, keep going. It would never end. And that blew my mind, because even if we are in this gigantic bubble, say like our entire universe that we know is just gigantic bubble, and then there's got to be something beyond that.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, there could be a layer of diamond or a layer of ice or whatever. There's always something
or another
beyond
universe
that.
Bubble.
And so from a very early age, my brain was just like, wow, this is crazy. I don't know what this is all for. I don't know what the purpose is. Michio Kaku had a great explanation. Because he goes around and does a lot of seminars.
He's interesting. I like him.
I love that guy.
He's not like Neil deGrasse Tyson that like feels controlling.
Show it. Yeah, Michio's super just chill.
Yeah.
But he gets asked that question a lot. It's like, does he think that there's life on other planets? And, basically he says just from the law of probability alone, like there's so people do not realize how big the universe is. He goes, not only is there, if you just plug in the law of probability, not only is there life out there, he goes, there's so much life out there that there's another planet called Earth. And there's another Michio Kaku on that planet. And so he's like, if I go to Vegas and I walk up to a roulette table in a casino and I put 500 on red, there's so much other life out there that there's another Michio Kaku on another planet in another casino called the same thing, putting 500 on black. Like,
I like where he's going with that.
That's how much there is. And people just cannot comprehend it because they can't wrap their minds around how big this fucking universe is. It's massive.
That's the kind of shit that I spent even as a little kid, I'm sure that my parents have saved like journals and drawings and like essays and shit about these different ideas. I have one in my mind that I'm thinking of I was always theorizing of like, how does this all fit together? Like, what's the big picture? Because really, like the way I see it, that when you take the edge of our scientific understanding of the universe out that far, you're right up against religion and spirituality and like what is God.
I think they tie together.
I think I think that science and religion are getting they're getting to a point where they're starting to talk about the exact same thing with different language, which they kind of always have. But we're starting to be able to scientifically get right up into like, where is the consciousness coming
Do you believe
from?
in God?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you always been devout?
No. I was raised not like atheist as much as just like without it in my life at all. Like no religion whatsoever. My mom was Catholic with a really bad upbringing. Her dad was a World War II veteran that ruined Catholicism for her. And my dad was a Quaker that loved Quakerism and all that, but like that didn't come down into our lives at all. We didn't practice anything. So I had no concept of God whatsoever. It was all just science and like reality. And I got to a certain age where I just realized that like there's something missing from the human experience without that. Like if you don't have a religious practice and the rituals like we were talking about earlier today and the community, especially of like a church type of community, like because ultimately like what all religious communities kind of share is they are a bunch of people getting together, committing to doing good. Right. Is essentially what that is. Yeah. Unless you're Satanists and then you're committing to doing bad. Plenty of those out there. But I just started, the older I got, the more I felt like once you grow up and get out of the house and are like out in the world doing your thing, you're like, and you're alone really. You got friends and all that, but like at the end of the day, you start to realize more and more the older you get, like, oh, I'm alone every night and like I'm just who I am in this. I'm like, what am I doing here? And you start to realize that if you don't have something to anchor you to your best self, there's so many opportunities across life to let yourself slip into bad habits, to let yourself slip into laziness, to slip on like your ideals as a young person. And like religious groups are basically just a bunch of people getting together to be like, oh yes, remember, we want to commit to,
we're going to hold ourselves
God,
accountable.
Right. And so I consider myself vaguely Christian, but most Christians would consider me to be a heretic in like every sense of the word. Because I'm coming from science into it. And as far as when I'm looking at the edge of science, like the kind of stuff we talked with Alex about on the hike today, a lot of those topics, like how your nervous system is like a receptor and a transmitter for consciousness, that train of science, that train of thinking very quickly leads to like the universal consciousness field that we are all receiving consciousness from. And you very quickly get to exactly what sounds like God to me. Of like, if every consciousness that ever existed all hung out in one place outside of time, and then we all received it and went back to it and received it and went back to it when we were dead, that would be God. Yeah. And it would know everything that everything had ever done. It would know everything. Like when God is always watching you, makes a lot of sense if it's a universal consciousness outside of time that you're going to go and be a part of when you're dead. And it would make a lot of sense that you're going to be judged by God at the end if you're going to go join all of us in the universal consciousness, having contributed your life's worth of consciousness to the mix.
Do you know why Michio says, because people ask him, why are we here? What is the purpose of humans being here? Are we a virus inside of this universe? You know, like we're consuming all natural resources until, we kill the host, or what is it? And he says he's given that question a lot of thought. And his thought was, he's a scientist. He always caveats everything with, well, first off, I'm a scientist. He goes, but this one, I personally think that the universe or God or however you want to look at it or whatever you want to call it, I think it created something that could appreciate everything that it made. Like something that could actually
self-awareness.
Yeah, so something that could, you're making all these beautiful universes and galaxies and supernova stars and like all these amazing things, but there's nothing to appreciate it. What's the point?
Yep.
So you want something that can view it and go and look at it in awe. Wow.
The observer.
Yeah.
Right. And I agree completely. I arrived at the same conclusion. In like my mid 20s, I went through it was actually when I was prescribed Adderall in my late teens. And when I was like 24 when I finally got off of it. And I went through like 3 years of like pretty low key depression of just like, what's the point? Like, none of this fucking matters. Like your brain's just drained of dopamine. And the thing that got me through that time, that like kind of dark time, was like, whatever, maybe there's no point, but the point is to just observe it all. Like, just be a part of it. Just, you are here as an observer of this great reality. And like, at the very least, your job is just to see what happens. Cause like, ultimately, like, clearly God has not put everything here for it all to be great. It's like, clearly, kids aren't dying over there and being starved over there and like genocides over there. So that's clearly like, the point is not for it all to be good. The point is for it to be everything and for us to experience it.
Where do you think manifestation fits into the topic of religion?
I think everything is based on energy, and that if we are, so the way I see it is that life is this like evolution of physical matter that gets more and more complex, that evolves these like electrical systems that can transmit and receive consciousness, which is some sort of energy field, some sort of electromagnetic interaction with our nervous systems. That like the way I see it is like if you had a different nervous system, you'd have a different consciousness from your gut to your brain to everything. Cause like think about it, it's like your brain, that's the ultimate question in science, is like consciousness is sort of in your brain, but it's not actually like in your brain. We can't find it. Yeah. But it is emergent because of the whole nervous system, from your guts to your feelings.
Yeah, and your brain is just a tool. It's another another bodily organ that you use to solve problems.
Right. But if you change your brain, you change your consciousness.
Exactly. It's not your conscious, not your soul.
Yeah. But it is married to it. It is like lock and key to it a little bit. And so if you take that view of the system and you see it as like an antenna and receiver, then you're also a transmitter, because we're also putting out electromagnetic signals all the time. And when you read like ancient texts and you read ancient stories and religious doctrine and put the two kind of all in one pool and look at it, it looks to me like manifestation is just like a woo-woo word for the power of your own mind to interface with this reality. As in like everything in the room, everything in all of our lives was an idea. This is not my quote. This came from someone else. Is everything was a thought before it was a thing. You had to think of a glass before you blew the glass into that shape. You had to think of a plastic water bottle before you had to come up with it. Yeah. And so in some ways, like manifestation is very basic of just like, I have a thought, I do a thing. But in another way, there's an energetic interaction where like science is more and more now understanding that I energetically interact with you, and my happiness energetically interacts with your happiness. And if I'm down, you're down. Yeah. And there's like a lot of intuitive ways to understand that, but there's also a lot of very scientific ways to study that. And I think we're getting more and more to this. I think the next 100, 200 years, if we actually, look into consciousness, we will be learning that you can empower your own nervous system to be more powerful by being energized, by being active, by being healthy, by being like having a strong heart pumps a lot of like your electricity is more measurable if your heart is athletic and strong, right? And that empowers your own field to be more powerful. And so like when I walk into a room, I can feel my energy affecting everyone else. And if I walk into the room quiet and down and like chilling, the whole room is like feels that, especially because I'm so fucking tall.
Kind of goes in line with like an aura.
Exactly.
Specific aura.
That's how I see it.
Some people, they walk into a room and you could just feel their energy, their command of the room instantly. People will stop talking and kind of like wait for that person to talk, even if they don't know them. They just have a certain something about them.
And when I meet someone like that, I study them. I try to like get to know them. It's like those are always the people I want to like hang out with and get like absorb stuff from, is like the people that just have that thing, like that energy to them that is just like magnetic is kind of the wrong word, but it's just like power. It's like they wield a lot of consciousness. And that's what we were talking about earlier, where it's like this game, this like social media thing, whatever it is, it's not just making videos. It's like the whole act of existence is a part of your job, right? Because I'm like going to the podcast, I'm going to the event, I'm going to the speech, I'm talking to fans, I'm making videos. It's like all a human interaction, like that. If I am low vibration, so to speak, that's going to be a low vibration experience.
Yeah.
But if I'm as high vibration as I can be, that'll affect every little piece of it. It'll come through in my videos. It'll come through in my interactions. And so I see it as the most holistic like job or career you could possibly have in a lot of ways.
Well,
Like
maybe that's
the
why
art of human living.
maybe that's why you blew up so quick.
Might be.
People could feel that, even if it's through a video.
I
or a
think
phone.
it is to toot my own horn, and not to say that I'm like super good at it. I'm certainly a flawed man, but I do think that being old enough and at least a little wise enough to understand that I need to be paying attention to that from the very start, and to understand like just in the most basic way of if I'm going to film this video, I need to be excited. People want to like, I don't want to just share this information of like, look, this is the number. It's like, this is crazy, dude. This is freaking crazy.
There it
Look at
is.
this
That's
number.
what you do on your video right there. That's it.
And learning to channel, because like in some ways that's acting, but in some ways that's what good acting is it's channeling a different truth. It's like when I first saw that piece of research, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What did I just read?
And you're trying to reenact
and
that
learning
moment.
to like hold that emotion and bring it back out of like like it is still crazy now, even like it was the first time I read it, and learning to channel that and like and there's a fine line between doing that in a fake way that is like inauthentic and doing it in a way that is like genuinely like how it is. It's an art form, and it's there's no perfecting it, but paying attention to that from the start I do think is a big part of why I blew up.
I mean, it's been a few years now, so you kind of been in his driver's seat for a little while trying to figure out, I guess, where you're going to land. You're making it look pretty easy. I wouldn't say easy, but like you're making it look smooth.
Thanks, man.
Right? Where do you see this taking you? Or like, first off, what's your goal? What's your mission with this now? Now you have a platform, you have a voice that you can do a lot with. You can help a lot of people. Like, what would you say your mission is to do with that going forward? Because this is just the beginning of the Ian Carroll.
Absolutely. This is very much the beginning.
Yeah.
And I'm super
32
aware
years
of
old.
that. Yeah, 32 years old and only a couple years into this. Definitely have a million directions ahead of me. And there's a couple different levels to that question and answer there, in that the goal outside of myself is I would love for the world to be not shitty. I would love for people to be able to afford a home, and for kids to be able to like play in the streets and not be in danger, and for like pedophiles to not run our government. I would love to play a part in all those big things. But that's kind of like, nebulous. That doesn't really mean anything to say. Realistically, like my actual goal, if I had to prioritize one thing, it's education. It's not, I'm not trying to do this right now because there has to be phases to things. I'm trying to build the power and influence and resources in order to do this later. Okay. But I would love to play a role in revolutionizing the education system, which is not to say like go in and like change how schools work, because ultimately I think that schools are a dying institution. Yeah. The only purpose of schools right now is daycare and indoctrination. And you get to know some homeschoolers, some homeschool families, and you will very quickly realize that schools are not the future. And kids don't need schools anymore. But what we do need is to understand what the digital is doing to our young people and how to make that a productive relationship instead of a destructive
Embrace it rather than...
Exactly.
Well, they just signed a new law here. Governor Abbott just signed a bill saying no more cell phones in classrooms. Literally yesterday.
Which is like, in some ways, cool. Let's get some more human interaction. Let's get back to real life.
But it's also holding us back from moving into a new era.
And so I think that down the line, I intend to play a large role. And I what I mean by not getting like, I'm not going into the school institution. What I mean is that what we need is a change of our cultural consciousness about how we all think about education. Because I had this thought the other day that we all think of journalists as like a career of those people over there that do journalism, just like those people cook burgers and those people fix cars. But that doesn't work anymore, because it used to be that we had, 40 possible news sources and you just picked one and it was journalists working there. And so you were just going to one of 40 newspapers and you were just reading their journalism, and that's how you learned about the world. And now that landscape, I mean, even then that landscape was purchased by the CIA and by all these different things. But now it's so obvious that there's A, way too many sources to trust. And B, all those sources are controlled and influenced, and money's trying to buy them, corporations and intelligence agencies. And it turns into this crazy landscape where it doesn't matter if there's good journalists out there if you're not paying attention to them. And how are you going to know which ones are good journalists? Because the only way to know who's a real journalist now is to be educated enough to basically be a journalist yourself, to vet whether they're telling you the truth and to vet where they're coming from.
Which most people don't have that kind of time.
Exactly. And so the unfortunate truth is that now we kind of all have to be journalists to a certain degree, which no one has time for. But just shifting in your own mind, the conscious, like the thought of I just absorb stuff to I think critically about what I let be absorbed. It's like these shifts of mindset that will change how we work as a culture. And right now we think of education as something that like you send your kid to the place where the people give them the thing. Yeah. That's not how education has ever worked. And that's definitely not how it works now. It's like education is something you do to yourself by choosing by as a young person, having inspiration, an opportunity to build your identity and building learning into your identity. Because more and more young people are learning now as they're growing up. They all know this before their parents even do and their teachers do. That they know that like whatever comes into my mind, like whoever I am, it's like the world gives me what I am. And I think a lot of kids get trapped in like it's this huge world and I am nobody and I have nothing.
I need to be told what to do.
Exactly. So it's like, whatever. Meh. But ultimately, that exact same kid from the middle of nowhere with no opportunities, if that kid was motivated to make the most of himself, to put the most into his brain, to learn the most skills, he could become the next Mr. Beast. Yeah. Like the internet changes everything. And if you get that switch to flip early enough in childhood with the right, with a supportive enough environment around you of like at least a little bit of love, kids can become amazing things. And trying to shift that consciousness to be like, stop outsourcing learning to other people and start. Everyone has to be their own learner, and they have to teach their kids to be their own learner from the start. That's my big long-term goal. And how do I get there? It's in phases. And right now I'm actually kind of intentionally on the like pump the brakes on the fame and like pump the brakes on the massive growth and pump the brakes on like I've stopped answering emails. I like don't even check my text messages. I've just like turned off to the whole world of like I'm getting like people trying to sponsor me and like money trying to like offered to like come on this podcast for all this money. It's like, no thanks. Like right now I'm trying to just like settle down and make a YouTube channel and like get out of the whole social media fighting for a little bit so I can just learn more and just like hone the craft and spend some time just like being low key and building what I'm doing. Because I assume like down the line, I'm going to write some books. Down the line, I'm going to do some shows. Down the line, I'm going to do some travel. I just want to get creative. Yeah. And I don't want to get sucked into there's so many forces constantly trying to suck you into like what everyone else is doing, what everyone else is fighting about, all the distractions.
Well, that's also, back in line with being in harmony, in balance as a person.
Bingo.
How are you supposed to be the best version of you for this next stretch of your life? Unless you can find a way to balance it all and not get kind of lost in the noise. And,
exactly.
So I think you're right on the money. I think your head's in the right spot. I love that you're going to be trying to figure out how to change kind of like the collective consciousness when it comes to thinking. I think school needs to be a way. Here's the problem. Like it's the way the education system is set up. Kids don't like to go. They want to see their friends. That's the only thing they like about it. It's too structured. Like K through 12 needs to be an opportunity to teach these kids how to learn, how to love to learn.
Exactly.
In my opinion, not these stupid calculus tests and all these stupid things. Like find out their strengths and weaknesses, and then once you figure out these kids' strengths, then like okay. This is kind of their path. These are our teachers that this is also their strengths, right? And like, let's teach them how to learn, like love learning. Like my kids, my 13 and my soon to be 16-year-old, I introduced them to ChatGPT, and I'm like, because they're like, my daughter Mila, she's like, I'd love to start my own like fitness this or fitness that. And I'm like, well, have you plugged it into AI yet? To see how to do it. And she's like, no. And I go, well, check this out. I pulled out my phone. I was like, my daughter's 15 years old. She wants to start a fitness YouTube channel, and she has no idea what she's doing. And I just typing all this out, or I was like speaking it into it so she could see how easy it is.
Right.
And I just basically gave it to parameters, and I said, give me a 2-month plan on how she can start, and give me a step-by-step, day-by-day plan on how she can make this happen. Boom. 3 seconds later, and it showed her exactly what to do.
Yep.
And she looked at me like her eyes opened up, and she's like,
yeah,
it's that easy.
The
like,
only limit now on human potential is human striving.
well, it's
right?
it's the great equalizer.
Exactly.
Because like if you did not come from a life of privilege, right? Like Sydney Sweeney, how dare she?
Yeah.
If you did not come from a life like that, you know, say your parents they worked too much and you never saw them, or you were raised by your siblings, or they were alcoholics or druggies or whatever. Like a lot of kids today, they don't have access. Well, the privileged kids, the kids that came from a mom and dad in a perfect house and a perfect life, and they got to go to summer camps, you know, and they got to do all the things that all the poor kids and losers didn't get to do. When they grow up and they go, hey, I want to, you know, start a whatever, I want to start my own law firm. And they're like, they have the mentors in their life that can be like, okay, little Timmy, like this is what you need to do. Well, now we all have access to that. So it's just about educating everybody on how to use that.
Exactly.
We all have that life now. It doesn't matter where you're from. You can literally pull up AI and tell it exactly what you want, and it'll spit it out. Yeah. And it's going to be way better advice than that little Timmy got from, you know, whatever.
And you can tweak it on the fly. You can ask more questions. You can
it learns you.
Exactly. But the one thing is that you can't do it if you don't love doing it. Like if you don't love learning, right? Because if, you know, you write out that plan of how to start that YouTube channel for her, and if she doesn't love learning, step 1 is going to suck, and step 2 is going to suck also, and step 3 is going to suck as well. And so it's that flip of, because you're right, the schools teach you to hate learning. And there's so many reasons why and things packed into that, but like ultimately the whole system is built on negative reinforcement, built on what you don't do, what you don't like, don't break that rule, don't get out of line, don't get the answer wrong, don't do that, sit down. It's all discipline for what was done wrong. And there's very little celebration of what was done right. There's very little like opening a door and encouraging you to go out and you know, seek your own thing. And that's where I was so privileged as a young person, is that my parents and the schools I went to and the teachers that I had in those environments, it was like, for example, the middle school I went to, the slogan was nurturing the brilliance in every child. And the idea takes shape where it's like they got all their teachers on board with the idea of like, look for what your kids are good at and then encourage them to do projects and make and change the class so that your kids can explore what they do. And I like, everyone loves to learn naturally when you're born. Like every young person, like we are designed to learn. That's what we do. And it's only through conditioning that out of you through shame and negative reinforcement and guilt and all these other things that you stop wanting to take those risks and stop wanting to try new things and stop wanting to like learn and do the work. Yeah.
I think it's the same as working out, not to cut you off.
Same. Yeah.
I think it's like sports.
Yep.
I was talking to somebody the other day about this. You know, when you're going through school, like, yeah, you want to be on a football team, you're trying to make it, you know, the baseball team or basketball, whatever it is your sport was, you're trying to be one of the cool kids so, you can get laid. Basically, everything boils down to you're trying to get laid. All right. So when you're going through all that, you're running suicides. You've ran suicides in practice, and suicides is sprinting down, coming back, sprinting a little bit further, coming back, sprinting. And it's just like it's like forced exhaustion. Especially during track. There was times I did play track ran track my whole life, and I dreaded going to practice because I knew I was going to have to run 10 100-meter sprints, and I just didn't want to do it. So what that did though is like, as soon as I finished high school, I was like, I'm not doing shit. I would have been a great college athlete, but I was so sick of being told what to do in this. They didn't create a love of athletics in me. I just did it because I wanted to be cool, and they created a hate, and I avoided it. So then I avoided it for a long period in my life until I was starting to get fat. And then I was like, all right, I got to
consequences catch up.
But I ended up, so many years later trying to figure out how to find my love for this again. Because even I had memories of like, I'd go for a run and I'm like, I was picturing my coach yelling at me or blowing the whistle and all this shit. And it's just like, how much is that really helping. I mean, I get it. These schools, they want to become first because it makes their school look better, and maybe they'll get more money from the state if they're, state championship winning track team or football or whatever. But I think we're losing sight of the purpose of education and athletics. And yeah, we want our kids to be smart, but we more importantly, we want them to develop habits that they're going to take on for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Not just for high school and college, and then they become fucking retards that get drunk and sit on the couch and watch football for the rest of their life, right? I want somebody that's going to want to continue to educate himself throughout his entire life.
And then to innovate and to create and to learn and try things. And the thing about it is that sounds great to us. But conspiracy time is that's not very profitable to the whole system that makes money off of everything. And
Let's
so
go,
like
Ian.
every single part of this system, like, so imagine that America is 100 people and they all go to this one school and we all graduate from that one school, we go to college and it's just these 100 people. And if all 100 of those people and they all hate learning and they do the normal thing and they hate all this stuff, they graduate, they go to college and they just get wasted and they do the whole college thing, they finish, they go to their normal jobs, they watch football on the weekends, they go party with their friends, they go to work all week. Like, that is a consumerist lifestyle. That's a lifestyle where you can be sold shit, where you need solution. You're fat and lazy, you're like, I need the Uber Eats, I'm gonna get that stuff, I need the medical, like I need medicines for all these health conditions I've got. It's like there's so much profit baked into a compliant, unhealthy, unintelligent, just unthoughtful population. Whereas if you get that whole 100 kids school and they're all innovators and they're like doing crazy things and they're thinking for themselves and they're forging their own paths, those are people that like maybe they're going to buy your shit, but maybe they're going to invent something better. Like maybe they're going to go off and like live in the woods. Maybe they are a way more out there group of people that just are not going to be buying your random shit just because you told them to. And so just like over and over and again, when researching products and researching conspiracies and researching all the different parts, I just am keep being drawn back to like the system. It's not like the Illuminati created our school system. Like, it's not like Rockefeller controls the whole world and like made our school system specifically to enslave us. But like he did make our school system how it was in a large way so that he would have workers for his factories. And no one really ever updated that. But it did work so well. And then his factories turned into everyone's factories, turned into the entire capitalistic society that we live in today. And over time, everyone's making money off of the system. And so it gets more and more ingrained in how it is. And you wind up like, 150 years, 120 years later with like we are so out of date in how we are conceptualizing of learning and thought. And like, so for example, I was just in Idaho hanging out with this family that has 6 kids at homeschool. 5 of them are still in the house. And they range from 11 or I guess 12 now to like 16, 17, 18. And they are the smartest, most thoughtful, most personable, most like competent humans I've ever met. And they're cooler than 99% of adults. And they're all homeschooled. And their family's very Christian. They've got a very strong family, very loving, and they're all homeschooled. And they do schoolwork probably like 2 hours a day. Like every day I'm like hanging out with them. We're like, we're going to go to the river today. And like, we're going to go for a run. And like, I'm going to go to Taekwondo, or like, I'm going to go, and like, they're just doing life. And they've got jobs at like 16. Like the 16-year-old has 3 different jobs. Ran a marathon with no training, like the most like
that was the one you told me?
The most studious dude ever. Like these kids, and they're all unique and individual, and they're all doing their own things. And obviously, like, they're going through puberty, going through life, going through all the same hardships as the rest of us, but they are so much more educated and thoughtful, and they're like barely doing any school the way you would normally think. But everything is school for young kids these days are learning more from like their phone and TikTok than their teacher is teaching them. They're learning more on like a Twitch stream of some video game getting played than they're learning in science class. Cause like part of it is like, you're not learning anything if you're not retaining it. Yeah. You can be in the most advanced like MIT physics class in the world, but if you don't remember it 2 weeks later, you didn't learn anything.
That was me in college.
Right? That's what most of us do. And so it's like, there's the element of like, whether the information is important or not, is it being effectively given? But then there's also the element of just like is the information even effective? And in a lot of school settings, I think the information is actually not effective. And I think that actually kids are way smarter than most people realize. And they're way ahead of the world in a lot of ways because of how much the internet is exposing them to.
Definitely.
And so we need some sort of new model where it's like, just like give these kids the support and safety and infrastructure to just like become who they're going to become.
Okay. So if you were king for a day, what would you do?
This is sort of a answer that's somewhere between realism and let's get as much done as we fucking possibly can in one day. Because realistically, in one day, what are you really going to get done? It's like audit the Fed. It's like, okay, let's start the audit today. Tomorrow, they're back in power and you're back in prison.
Exactly.
So what I would do if I was king for one day is I would mobilize the entire military, and I would mobilize as many like data scientists and nerds as possible with the military. And I would go and I would seize the Fed, and I would seize all of the largest banks, and I would seize who else gets lumped in with this? Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, Oracle, Facebook, and maybe like the New York Times. I would make a list of like the 20 top institutions that rule our lives.
Just 20?
Yeah, I mean, you got to focus, right?
Like
and I would mostly focus on the Fed, the bankers, and I would send the military in, seize the building, lock everyone down, get everyone out, and I would send all the nerds in to take all the data, to plug flash drives and hard drives into every single port in the entire building, find the secret buildings, everything you can find, take all the data in one day, take it all out, get the hell out of there, and go lock it down and start studying it and auditing it somewhere with it, and set up a secure team that believes in the mission and audit those bitches and shut it down. And my first thought was to blow up the Fed. But I figured let's like get a real, they'll just build a new one. Like we need to audit that shit.
I saw your eyebrows raised.
Yeah. I would end the Fed. If I was king for one day, I would end the Fed.
Yeah.
You fix the money, you fix the world.
I think what you would have to do is similar to the movie Fight Club, where at the end he just blows up all
exactly.
You have to start with a big shock and awe because you have to get them while they're disorganized, right? You have to get them while they're not thinking straight, and you have to do a shock and awe campaign. I would shut down the internet somehow, some way. I would take out all the satellites orbiting the planet. Every source of, basically I would want the entire planet to be in blackout mode for about a month, maybe 2 months, 3 months, depending on how long it takes to. But
the thing is, if you actually did that, hundreds of millions of people would starve to death.
Yeah, well,
without the internet, no food gets delivered, no
people are resilient,
food gets grown. But no, like, are they though? Like,
maybe a month.
People like you are resilient.
We'll take care of it.
But most Americans are. They got Alzheimer's, they got diabetes, they're 400 pounds.
Okay, back up. Okay, we'll take care of the Alzheimer's and the diabetes and the elderly and the people that need all the help. We'll make sure they're good. All right. No, we'll fucking do this. Yeah. And then maybe, a 1 month blackout. 1 month blackout, and we got the team.
That would change the world.
Right, 1 month blackout, you go in there, change everything, and then when you turn everything back on, all the lights come on, back on, internet's back on. Whoa, what happened to everybody?
Funny.
I don't know.
Hillary's gone.
We're good though.
Yeah, definitely round up like Hillary and Bill. I would round up all the Bushes. I would round up.
What do you think about they still have consciences?
Those humans?
Yeah, like Hillary's.
Yeah.
Right.
Like how do they sleep at night? Like how do they explain themselves to themselves?
Yeah. What do you think? Like if you could do like I imagine they use a lot of drugs and alcohol to kind of like mask a lot of it, but
yeah,
everybody has coming down moments where they have to like self-reflect. Do you think that if you were Hillary, what would you feel about the way everybody talks about you and thinks about you?
I suspect I waffle between two primary theories for how most of these people sort of have their worldview, how do they live with themselves? And I think a bunch of them, most of them, have the savior complex of like, I understand the world in a way that the peasants don't. I understand the hard truths of this world in a way the peasants don't, and someone has to make the hard choices that no one else can. Because if you don't, the world falls apart. And in a certain regard, that's true. Like, yeah, if we don't develop AI, a foreign enemy nation will, and they'll take us over and it'll be hell. Like if we don't, develop the atom bomb and drop it on Japan, then Germany's going to develop the atom bomb and drop it on us. And so the hard choices need to be made. And like, there is some truth to that mindset. And when you take it all the way to the extreme, that can be, I need to traffic these kids and blackmail these people, because if I don't, then the world will fall apart because there'll be no order. So it's like, that goes way too far. And I think that's how a lot of these evil people sort of justify their long walk down into hell. And I think along the way, there's a lot of like compromising of morals and sort of like being around other people that have compromised their morals and done horrible things, and just being like, this is how we do it. This is what we do. It's like, the world's a hard place. Get over it. Like, you know.
But they have to know.
There's a kid getting raped over there in Sudan, so like, why not rape this kid here? I think is probably how a lot of them.
If the temperature changes in your comments, even just 10%, you feel it. Yeah,
I mean, regular people do, like we do,
right?
But like, I don't think they're concerning. Like, these people are billionaires, millionaires. Like, these people are in a whole different world of power and influence. And I think that a lot of them probably care about that legacy. But I think that in some way, I think that some people, you get that villain treatment for long enough, and you start to love the villain. You start to love being the villain. Like, for example, I think of some of the, let's say, prominent right-wing influencers on Twitter that like to call everyone woke right. Most of those people, their comments are filled with hate. And they kind of like know it at this point. And they kind of lean into that villain role. They're all Israel supporters, and they're all like very mainstream, like in all their thinking. And they kind of like lean into it and are like, yeah, bring on the shills, like bring on the hate. Like you just, and like somehow they live with it. Which is fine, you know. Just because an idea is unpopular doesn't mean it's wrong, even though those guys are pretty wrong. But I think that that's a bunch of these evil people. But I wonder, my conspiracy theory is that maybe there's a certain echelon of them that have interactions with, for lack of a better phrase, evil aliens.
You think so?
I think it's possible. As in, if there are aliens out there, seems highly likely.
Definitely are.
I mean, the Fermi paradox is a paradox because it's paradoxical that there wouldn't be alien life. It's like there's, like we were saying earlier, we were talking about how there's infinite planets out there. There's so many fucking suns and stars and planets. And so the Fermi paradox is this classic scientific thought problem that basically states that why don't we see anyone? If the universe is basically infinite, then life should be out there. So why don't we see them? That's paradoxical. That's the Fermi paradox. And it gets into a couple of different thought processes. And one is the question of like, is there a great filter? Meaning, is there a reason why any civilization anywhere in the universe that gets advanced enough to travel interstellar or to travel through space destroys itself? Or is there a reason why it's impossible to travel across the stars that we don't know about yet? Maybe. Maybe that explains why we don't see anything. Or other than that, it's like, maybe they're already here. There's like no other reason why there wouldn't be aliens fucking everywhere. No, because there's just infinite stuff out there. There's no reason why we would be the only ones. So I'm of the mindset that, yeah, they're fucking everywhere. And we also have a whole bunch of whistleblowers. We have all kinds of evidence at this point that supports the fact that there are aliens here. And if there are aliens here, what are the chances that they care about us? Like, maybe. I think there's a strong argument to be made for if you get advanced enough to travel interstellar, which I think is probably always going to be interdimensionally. I think that's a consciousness thing. I think that is like an evolution in your ability to use this, whatever your thing is, your system.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's like you get advanced enough to do that, and you get advanced enough to not, start wars. And
I don't think they look at your body. I think they look at your consciousness, your soul.
Yeah. Right.
I don't think they see bodies, because imagine if you're an alien civilization that's able to travel. I mean, Earth is an oasis in a desert. Right? Yeah. It's an oasis where people go to drink.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious. If you have technology, telescopes that can see far enough into space, you can tell that that's a blue dot. Let's go.
It's a pretty solid spot.
So in my mind, if there are aliens that are advanced enough that they can travel that far to all these different, galaxies and stuff, they're not going to give a shit about what you look like. They've probably seen millions of different shells. Your body is just the shell for your consciousness, right?
But that being said, if you torture someone, right, that it hurts their shell, it hurts their body, but also that hurts their consciousness. Like, your consciousness experiences that pain, right?
Yeah.
So there's an element where, like, they might not care for us at all. We might be like ants to them. But I could also imagine some of them being pretty benevolent.
Well, you don't get to that point in technological growth. Like, okay, listen, we're right now, the human species, we are a warring species.
Yeah.
We like drama. We like to be at war. We like our team against your team. Fuck you. We're hot. You're ugly. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's the human nature. I don't think you get to a position as a civilization on another planet unless you're sympathetic. I don't think you'll ever grow to the point in technological advancement that you can travel the cosmos with that mentality. And I think that's where we're at as a species. We need to draw a line here. There needs to come to a point where we can get along and advance. And I don't know how it happens. Like we talked about, if you were king for a day, if I was king for a day, I would pull in all the world leaders and fucking use the Men in Black fucking thing to forget everything that's ever happened in the past history of this planet. And I would just sit there and go, hey, everything.
But don't you think that we'd start fighting again?
Maybe, but at least we'd have a shot to advance.
It would be a clean slate for sure.
Yeah. Like, I just wish I could just Men in Black the entire planet just once. Be like, forget everything. Yeah. We're all good. Everybody's square.
Chill.
Can we fucking just move forward as a civilization?
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, like, it comes back to what we were saying earlier about being an observer, about the job being to observe the creation, because, like, we are advancing in our morals and our ethics, in at least measurable ways. Like, for example, it used to be very normal all around the world to think of certain people as slaves and other people as not, in kind of arbitrary ways. Like, Americans are kind of educated to think of it as like it was all black slavery, but no, it was just, I mean, like, some places it was black people were slaves, but some places it was white people, some places it was brown people. It was just like people could be slaves and then they were not human and you treated them that way. And that was like normal consciousness. And like, we have changed that. Like, certainly there's still fucking a lot of slavery that's super dark all around the world, including in America. But generally, like, civilized consciousness has evolved to a point where, like, at least that's like generally not the norm. And I think that, yeah, we are all capable of great evil and we all love to fight. We love drama, but we also are generally, like, 90% of people, maybe, I don't know, are also capable of so much compassion and so much, like, love and emotion. And so
we're so quick to be able to turn.
We do.
To switch it, though.
And I think a lot of times it has to do with safety, right? As in, when you're safe, you can evolve so much more. And you can be so much more free and so much more loving and so much more generous. And when you're not safe, that just all goes out the window right away.
Right. Everybody's on edge, even if they don't know it.
Right. Survival, right? And society has been this evolving process of making more and more people more and more secure, more and more safe. Even though, like, yeah, society is pretty dystopian right now, we have food security like no one's ever fucking believed. I've been doing this whole dive on grocery stores for the last, like, 6 months. Well, kind of the whole time. But I read this book and got really into, like, just the idea of a grocery store is fucking nuts. And actually, grocery stores played a big role in the Cold War. There's this famous moment in the Cold War where America invented grocery stores, and then they, like, became supermarkets and they became, like, the mega grocery stores. And when Khrushchev visited the US from the Soviet Union, like, I think in the 80s, he asked to go visit a grocery store because he wanted to see, because it was like, it was unbelievable to the Russians, to the Soviets, that there could be that much abundance
like a central
in a place.
Location.
Partially because the Soviet system was pillaging the people, and so no one had anything. But also it just was like, that we never, as Americans, we don't think about all the logistics that goes into the supply chains that fuel a grocery store, to be getting products from all around the world just constantly stacked on these shelves as far as the eye can see. And so the Soviets come over and they're like, show us these fucking grocery stores. I don't believe them. And they, like, apparently the story is that they, like, just walked around a grocery store for like an hour.
I want to go down the cereal aisle.
Exactly. and so it's like that abundance does things to our consciousness where, like, and it's not all good, but it certainly elevates a sense of safety where now, and in certain ways it's softness too, because now most Americans are fucking soft, like, weak, like, just unreliable people that don't understand, like, the importance of life and don't understand the danger and, like, the seriousness of life. So there's trade-offs, but also in general, Americans generally are, like, you are supposed to be nice. You're supposed to be generous. You're supposed to be these ways. So I think as society evolves, we kind of naturally evolve in our like morals with it, but it's super slow. And like you say, we carry all this baggage of all of our history together. But it's not like we're supposed to be some benevolent, like peaceful race that has no conflict. Like the moment that you have free will, you have conflict. When I want to do one thing and you want to do another thing, that's free will, and you suddenly have conflict.
Right.
So it's like we were saying earlier, it's like I don't think the point of God is to have everything be good or to have everyone get along or have everyone be perfect. I think the point is for us all to do our best.
Do you believe in reincarnation?
In a way, sort of. My belief is that consciousness is a field or an energy system that is universal, and that is God, and that we are an antenna that is receiving a piece of that during our lifetime. And when our receiver dies, we go back up into that. And so it's like then when a new receiver is born and they tap into a piece of that, is it possible that that's you reincarnated? Like maybe if the receiver is similar enough to your receiver was, like your antenna was. So in some ways, yeah, I think we are reincarnating pieces of everyone else that's ever been. Like I think that I am a part of all the people that have come before me in some ways because I'm tapping into that same field and getting little bits of everything that we've been.
Interesting.
But I don't think it's like the way that like Hindus think of it is like I die and then I get reincarnated into a bug if I was evil or into a king if I was good or whatever. Like I think that a lot of religions are like these stories that came from deep wisdom that were then distilled into like deep simplicity for the masses, that if you read it as a simplicity, it's like way off. But I think if you read it for that, like those deeper truths, you can get pretty fucking close to some of these more metaphysical realities.
It's interesting that you were talking about tapping into like your ancestors, right? Your dad, his dad, his dad, his dad. So, on the hike, we were talking about doing mushrooms and psychedelics. And one of the things, if you've ever done psychedelics, one of the things they tell you is don't look at yourself in the mirror. Your pupils are
I've heard that a lot
very
of times.
big and crazy, and so they say do not look at yourself in the mirror, and if you do, like leave, right? Well, one day I think I took like 8 or 9 grams of penis envy mushrooms. It was either penis envy or no, I think they were golden teacher mushrooms. And I was like, fuck it. I had nothing to do. And I stopped and I looked and I could see my face morphing into the only way I can explain it is morphing into my ancestors. Like I could see bits of me in my face, and it's almost like it started all the way back at the beginning. And like I could see like a caveman looking face, like somewhat similar, like the eyes were similar. I could see the eyes. Like I was like, those are my eyes, but that's not my face. Yeah. And then it kept morphing and it would stay there for like 2 or 3 seconds and morph into another one and then another one. I sat in front of this mirror and went through this for like 20 minutes and it morphed into, I don't know, 100, 150 different faces. And then it finally ended with me. And I was like, holy fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
that advice, I think it's bullshit. The don't look in a mirror advice, it's bullshit.
Dude, that changed my life.
That is small-minded individuals that shouldn't be taking psychedelics making up rules for how to not have a bad trip because they don't know how to take psychedelics.
Right, or they can't handle the experience.
Which is fine. Most people probably should be very wary of psychedelics because they're extremely powerful and extremely dangerous to your mind and soul if you're not prepared for what it's going to do to you and for you. But like you're saying, like that's like one of the most and I'm of the belief that I think you saw something real. Like I think it's not like psychedelics. I think people have never done psychedelics. They think like, oh, you see like pink dancing elephants and like you see like they think of hallucinations as like things that don't exist, which is not what hallucinations are.
No.
When you take psychedelics, information that is actually there in the visual landscape
we just can't see
starts to rearrange in ways that like you start to draw things out that are there if you really study it, like whether it's vibes, whether it's like how it feels, whether it's how something looks, how something sounds or smells.
Whether it's unhealthy.
Exactly.
Like
and
cigarettes,
these filters that
alcohol.
we build in that like we just stop paying attention. Like I don't notice the smell of cigarettes. Like I don't notice that this is a weird vibe. I don't notice that wall has all this texture. Right. When you take down those filters, you start to notice more and more and more. And I think that there is probably a spiritual component to that too, a certain like energetic component to that of like, you know, you get deep enough into it, and I think you can probably see some of these like spiritual truths that are kind of encoded in what's going on.
Well, it always gives you what you need. Exactly. Like I've noticed that I've done mushrooms a lot. I know you have too.
Yeah.
But like I noticed like if I've been working too much, it'll make me like tired.
Yeah.
Right. Like if I've just been like working too long of hours, I take mushrooms because I want to unwind and have a good time. And I'm like, I can't stop yawning. My eyes are watery. And I'm like, I got to go to bed. I'm so fucking tired.
Yep.
If I haven't been having enough fun, it'll make me have a great fun trip, and I'm like having a time of my life. If I've been having too much fun, it might make me have a dark trip.
Exactly.
It's like we talked about harmony and balance. Like that's what mushrooms do. They balance you out, and they force you to realize, like, you know, when I do mushrooms, I'm like, I don't want to drink this. You know what I mean? Like,
I just want to like get back to water. Like, where's the water?
I don't want a cigarette. I don't want, you know, yeah, exactly. It forces you to realize like your body wants to be healthy at all times. You know, I fucking love them. I think mushrooms are amazing.
Yeah, I think that psychedelics it's no accident that psychedelics have been used by every culture throughout all of time in important, meaningful spiritual like ways. And I totally agree with you that it gives you what you need. And what that made me think of was like maybe the only bad trip I've ever had, the most memorable, like that was not a good time, was one where I was emotionally bound up in a relationship that was not working, that was super like unhealthy. And I was like kind of the problem. I was like very codependent and just not actualized. I was just not in a good space and pouring everything into the wrong direction. And I like went to this music festival, and the trip was like, it was literally just like a blackout. It was like, you're done. Like, go lay down. Like, stop and like go think about your life. And I don't even know you can't describe that kind of thing, but it was like getting hit in the face by like, you're not doing it right and you need to change. And so that's where I think that a lot of people, I think that my personal theory is that I've seen a lot of different people take psychedelics growing up in a hippie liberal town the way that I did, going to music festivals. I worked trip support at music festivals for a year or two.
Another job?
Yeah, I've done all sorts of weird shit. And my perspective is that different speeds of brain, not just brain, but like your soul, like different souls work at different speeds. Some people are very high level, like fucking really smart, really active, like really just like on. And they can keep up with like all the intensity of a psychedelic experience. But some people are just not like keyed up like that. Some people are just simple and chill. And I think that psychedelics can overwhelm some people's brains really quickly. And I think that those are the people that start seeing like things start getting weird and their brain is just like, nope, pink elephants. And I think that certain people have a threshold where beyond that threshold, you just go into like la la land of like, I can't handle
like
this.
Animation.
And that's where I think you get psychotic breaks. That's where you get people like having really fucked up experiences. That's where you get people that like go crazy, quote unquote, because they've like taken a threshold of where it's opened up their sensations and their spirit and their mind to things that they just are not ready to like keep up with. And that is the most dangerous drug you could ever do at that point. Way more dangerous than like hard drugs. But
interesting.
I think that if you take, you know, a dose that you can handle and you do it intentionally and thoughtfully and you like, you know, go into it with seriousness, I think that anyone can handle the right amount. But I think I've met, you know, you meet those people that are like really high caliber individuals. Those are always the people that can do psychedelics and that can keep up with the intensity of the experience and the like intellectual like nature of the experience. And those are the people that like deep in a really heavy trip where they've taken a lot of whatever psychedelic it is, they are still cogent and they can like see what's going on. And they're like, I think that there's an element of different people are prepared for different levels of that journey. And everyone should take it very seriously, but it's like that, it's no accident how important that is to culture all throughout history. And it's no accident that it is so demonized and so illegal today to do in most settings. Cause like that changes the game. That opens your mind. It opens your soul. It teaches you about health. It teaches you about, I mean, like you can learn everything like through that, so to speak.
You could process all your demons.
A little bit. Yeah. Or you can find new demons if you do it wrong. I think there's a push in society over the last 10 years, especially because psychedelics are kind of on a resurgence and festival culture is kind of on a resurgence and all these things. And in some ways it's a throwback, but in some ways I think it's also like evolving out of this like Diddy culture, this like debauchery culture where like there's a lot of money getting poured into like just go get wasted and have sex and like party and just be degenerate and like EDM, techno, like lose your mind and do lots of drugs. And psychedelics inherently get brought with that. But then there's this problem. If you're the establishment, if psychedelics are on the rise with this like party culture on the rise, you risk waking all the people up in the way that the 70s were kind of this manufactured, like psychedelics came from the CIA. They didn't come from us. And then they're like, oh, fuck. Like all these people are like anti-war now. What do we do? And so I think that right now we're going through this time where psychedelics are back on the rise, but there's this like push to turn them into this like lose your mind culture, which is like so not what psychedelics are about. Psychedelics are the most in your mind you'll ever be if you do them right. Right? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. And it breaks my heart when I go to a festival or I go to a show or I just like, and someone's like tripping, but like you can tell they're doing it with the goal of like losing themselves of like, like I want to see the craziest shit, bro. Yeah. Like this, it's like, who are you? Like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like you're a part of God.
Yeah.
Like, and right next to them, you could have someone on the exact same substance to the exact same degree that is like tapped in, that is like spiritually connected to the experience, that is like looking out for everyone around them, that is aware of the universe, that is like having a soul experience they'll remember for the rest of their lives. It's all about how you do it, not what you do, right?
I ever tell you about my DMT experience where I experienced telekinesis for the first time?
No, tell me about it.
Shit. So I did a DMT retreat. Well, the first day was psilocybin and MDMA mixed, so ecstasy and psilocybin. I think it was 7 grams of psilocybin mixed with 1 pill of ecstasy, and that was like the long day. That was where you're unpacking.
That one's a lot.
Yeah, you're opening up the closet and you're pulling everything out, and they laid us all in a room, and I had a mask on, and there was 6 other people in the room with me. And, it's kind of like, what you're going in there. You're going to be exhausted by the end of the day.
Yep.
And so you're going through this and, anybody that's never done a psychedelic trip like that, like a big heavy one, is your brain cannot stop moving.
Yeah.
It's it cannot.
It's very tiring. It's very uncomfortable a lot of times.
Yeah. And it's like forcing you. And I felt like there was a spider in my mind that was like picking like the stuff that I'd never processed, like the experiences that bad things. It would like grab them, pull them, and I could almost hear its little legs going like it was like a spider will trap like a fly and it will wrap it up and save it for later. Well, that's what I felt like my brain did over the years. So all these problems that I left unresolved, that's what my brain did. And then when I did this, it was like, whoosh, I'm going to unwrap this. We're going to deal with this and even
feel it,
process
it.
And I was like trying to you feel like you're a soul in an ocean just kind of moving around, and you're like, I'm trying to move away from the spider because I'm sick of this. I just want to have fun because you see so much fun over here. And it was like, nope, pull me back. And it did this for about 3 hours, just finding old memories and picking them apart. And it was like, and then throw them out. That's gone. It's done. You don't have to stress about it. You don't have any subconscious fucking reactions to things about it. It's just like done and it's gone. And so, I sat through all of this.
And this is post-military, right?
Post-military.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did this because it took me a long time to get over.
What you just said was a great I said that because I wanted to point out that is a great explanation of why psychedelics are so useful for PTSD, for people that are really traumatized from military experiences, right?
But I think it's good for everybody.
It's good for everyone has their own little things that they wrap up,
I don't think people realize how much shit we got wrapped up. But anyway, so that was the first day. It was kind of like just picking apart everything that I had fucking suppressed over the years. And then you're exhausted after, you just want to pass out. The next day, it's more of it's like a singular ceremony that's just for you. There's not other people in a room. It's you, the doctor making sure that you're okay, and then they have like these shaman types that are there to hold space and energy and do all this crazy shit. Which
Is that ayahuasca?
I'm not big into that. No, it's DMT.
Just DMT?
It was 5-MeO, which is the synthetic version of DMT.
Yeah.
So it's the most psychedelic substance on earth. So
was it drank or smoked or?
it was a vape pen. So you hit this vape pen, and they were like, "All right, breathe in for 8 seconds, hold it for 8 seconds, and then exhale for 8 seconds."
Gone.
Yeah, and so but they did kind of baby step you up to it. So there was like 1/8, and then they're like 1/8 strength, and I hit that one, nothing. And I was like, look, dudes, I've done a lot of drugs in my life, right? And they're like, okay, here's 1/4. And then I hit the 1/4, nothing. I was like, I fucking told you. I'm like, I don't even know.
Smart way to do it, though.
I don't even know if this shit's going to work on me. And the doc looks at me and he's like, give him the 1-to-1. And I was
It'll
like,
work on you.
give him the 1-to-1. I was like, all right, whatever. Fucking gave me the 1-to-1, like the full strength. And I hit that, inhaled for 8 seconds, held it for 8 seconds. And I was looking at him like, ain't shit, dog. And then, boom, my eyes went cross-eyed and I just like laid down.
Yeah.
And it was like for 10 minutes I was stuck in this realm. Like I was inside of a honeycomb.
You like get the crisscrossies and the whole world turns kind of geometric and weird, and you're like,
yes, no, I teleported to the inside of a honeycomb. Like the universe became a honeycomb. Everybody disappeared, and I was surrounded I was inside of a honeycomb, and there was these gigantic like combs in the honeycomb. And each one of them was an individual fractal that was going with the music that they were playing in this room. And so the undertones, the instruments, every comb was a different fractal underneath me, above me. And I was just trapped in this thing. And it was just this gigantic, universal, God-like vibrating. And I felt like I was like inside of the machine that runs the universe. And I remember sitting there and I was just like, what the fuck is this? And then I come out of it and it's terrifying, but it's amazing at the same time. And I come to, because it only lasts 10 minutes and then you wake up and you're right back to normal.
Yep.
So I get up and the doc's looking at me. He's like, you good? And I was like, I'm good. He's like, do you want to do it again? I was like, fuck yeah. And so he gives it to me again. I hit it again. Boom. Go back down. Same thing. And I'm inside of this fucking realm, and I'm just like, oh my fucking God. Like this like another veil of reality that we don't see. You know, it's like you're taking a peek behind the curtain of death. You know what I mean? Like kind of thing. And so I'm sitting in here like, do. And this time I purposely got up early and I lifted the mask off my eyes and I sat up because I wanted to know what it looked like in the real realm. And instantly there was about 5 people in the room. I looked at each one of them and I had a 1-to-1 telepathic connection to each one of them. Like I could see through them. They had no walls up. Yeah. I could see all of their anything that they thought they had to hide from people, secrets. It didn't matter. I could see through to their soul and they could see through to mine.
Yeah.
Like it was like a 1-to-1, no walls, no ego, nothing that would like separate us from being totally connected. And I had that for like about 45 seconds with everybody in the room.
Yeah.
And then it faded away.
As it's fading.
And I was like, whoo.
I believe it. Have you listened to the telepathy tapes at all?
No, I've been putting it off. Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, dude. So, you know a little bit about them from Joe. That series really, I mean, I already was thinking on these things, learning about these things. I already had a lot of these ideas, but that series, the basic, you know, it sounds insane. The basic version, listen to the series to get the evidence, is that nonverbal autistic kids seem to be telepathic. And they have all of these abilities that they can prove very clearly, replicated over and over and over. All these different kids that don't know each other all around the country and the world. And from listening to that series, I picked up a lot of details, and there's a lot of things in there that kind of showed to me that if it's all true, which it sure seems to be mostly true, then that's like latent abilities that are somewhere inside of our genetics, our biology, what we can and can't do, what we are. And you start to correlate it to things like the experience that you just described, and it starts to make a little more sense of like, you don't really have an answer for how you could do such a thing just from like smoking some substance until you realize that, oh, maybe like there's actually more inside of what we are than what we realize at first. Like maybe we can do more than we can do. And I get so fascinated by trying to piece out what psychedelics show us about what's real about the universe and what's real about ourselves, what we can do, from sort of a scientific mindset of like because it's so unbelievable. Psychedelic experiences are so unbounded and unexplainable. But when you get down to it, you can kind of explain a lot of it, actually. And a lot of it, you just have to open your mind to how those explanations might work, because they don't fit into the normal scientific, like, closed-minded thinking. But I did another weird job I had for a little while was I was a vision therapist, which I got offered by like a parent that I had taught her kids. And vision therapy is like physical therapy, occupational therapy, vision therapy. Meaning not like, most of it is not like helping people with their eyeballs. Most of vision is happening in your brain, in your visual cortex. And a lot of people don't realize we are like, I forget the stat, but it's like 70 to 80% visual creatures. Like the vast majority of our brain processes are based on visual stimuli, as opposed to like a dog is, nose. And so our visual processes are huge in how we think, how we identify ourselves, like what we think of ourselves, how we like solve problems, everything. And so a lot of that job was like working with kids that had visual disorders that were actually affecting their like identity entirely. There's a whole bunch of misdiagnosed ADHD that are just kids who can't use their eyeballs properly to like hold on to reading text.
Interesting.
And so text starts to float around. It's called convergence insufficiency. But through that job, I got this fucking super crash course in how the visual system works, how our eyeballs work, how light works, how the actual technicals of what we see works. And I started thinking about psychedelics and hallucinations. And a lot of things clicked into place of just subtleties of, oh yeah, when you're on psychedelics and you're like seeing all these visuals, that's not like mumbo jumbo woo woo. Like all that data is already there. And when you study the visual system, you learn that like actually our brain is doing all this complex, essentially math in your visual cortex to sort out all the data to be like, this is a room, that's a light bulb, that's a wall, and I don't even need to pay attention to it anymore. It's like, I know what it all is, so I'm not even going to pay attention to it. And you just put in all these filters so you don't have to be doing all these processes. But realistically, the light bouncing off that wall is so fucking complex, and it can be processed in so many different ways that when you bring down those filters, suddenly things look like they're moving. Suddenly things start to blend together. Suddenly you see patterns that weren't there before. Suddenly you can actually like rearrange your visual space. And so it's like, as one example of how the things that seem like unexplainable about psychedelic experiences, I think actually are quite explainable if you open your mind to us not understanding everything about how the universe works yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was telling you during my experience, so the first day we did the 7 milligrams, or is it 7 milligrams or grams of
I don't know.
I can't remember.
I think it's grams.
Yeah, I think whatever. So the psilocybin mixed with MDMA, that's the long one. That's like the marathon where you're gonna deal.
That shit is wild.
You're gonna deal with all your shit. And I remember going through this. And, so when you're in this psychedelic realm, and I think all psychedelics lead to the same point.
Yeah,
I think they're all just different routes to get to some sort of enlightenment point.
Yeah.
And I think DMT is the closest one that gets you the closest to it. But I think it's a roundabout way to get to one point. But I remember when I was in this experience, I'm going through this whole thing, and at a certain point, probably halfway through it, I'm like, I had gotten over the point of like, wow, this is cool, this is crazy. And I got to a point during it where I was like, I'm tired of this. I'm like, I'm over this. But I know the drug is still running through my system. I'm like, I've learned everything I need to learn. I want to get out of this room. There was a guy next to me that was crying the whole time. And like I could feel his cries cascading into my experience.
Yeah.
And not that I wasn't sympathetic. I was probably more sympathetic than I would have been to it. But I was also like I said, I felt like I was a soul floating in an ocean. I was trying to like steer away. Like, I want to go over here and have fun. And I'm
like ready.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I understand what he's doing or what he's going through, I don't know what his memories are, but I'm sympathetic to what they are. But at the same time, I don't want that. I just want to like chill.
Yeah.
So I'm going through all this, and when you're in this realm, everything there's no order in a psychedelic trip. Everything is molding, or coming in on
fluid, right?
Yes, it's like it's a mixing pot of all these different things. Even you don't feel like you're like finite a person. You feel like you're just absorbing into everything around you. So it's just constant thing. And I remembered halfway through it, and I knew I still had at least an hour and a half or 2 hours to go with this, and I kind of like suffered through it. But I remember there was a certain point where I was like, I just want to go back to reality.
Yep.
Like it gave me an appreciation of being alive, being sober,
Yep.
and just like being normal, and not having any sort of influence that's happening to my mind or my brain or my eyes or anything. It gave me an appreciation like this table. Yep. This table is perfectly symmetrical.
And it's fucking cool.
There's order. This is a cup.
It's built from wood.
This is a bottle. I know what all of this is. There's Ian.
And it's
Ian
simple.
Is just Ian.
It's just life.
And so back to the conversation we had about the universe and, whether or not there's reincarnation. Me personally, my opinion on it is that I think just like in real life, in our lives that we're living in this, this body, this time, I think that it's free will.
Yeah.
I think that there's souls floating out in the universe, and I think there's constantly we're creating new souls to float. The universe is big enough. We got plenty of room. Okay, there's no reason that we can't. Yeah. We have to put a stop on creating new universes or new souls. Okay, so I think your soul is free to move about, and I think you have the option to take a break from the chaos, which is that realm. And I think you can, and I think certain souls acclimate better to order.
Yeah.
And I think
come down and stay a while.
And that's why, like we talk about, like there's old souls.
Uh-huh.
I think those aren't just old souls. They're souls that prefer order as opposed to chaos.
And I think that's
what the universe is. It's order versus chaos.
Yep. 100%. And yeah, psychedelic experiences really do feel like that sort of stripping away of the order. And what you said just a second ago about how it makes you want to kind of get back to reality. I early on in my life, and I still kind of hold to this, developed this distinction between drugs and psychedelics. And I put anything that makes you want to take more of it in the drug category, and anything that makes you want to take less and get back to sober is in the psychedelic category.
Yeah.
Because unless you're doing them wrong, psychedelics are like fucking tiring and super hard to do. And
I don't even take them anymore, and I love them. I'm the biggest advocate of them, and I don't even take them anymore because I took them so much, and I'm like,
it's like
I'm good.
I'll do them like once a year, maybe once every couple years at this point, in like my own way and my own setting. But like for the most part, it's like I'm over it. Like I understand. Because the thing about psychedelics too is it's not just that you want to get back to reality and chill the fuck out, but also you realize that reality is the psychedelic experience. Life is psychedelic. Life is this unknown, unknowable, like fluid thing of decisions. And like if you really tune in any conversation, there's so many subtle vibes going on. If you listen really carefully to the person you're talking to, you can pick up on their emotions, and you can pick up on their insecurities, and you can pick up on the things they want to communicate or want to be recognized for. And those are things that when you're on psychedelics, they like hit you in the face sometimes, where you're like, oh my God, this person is so sad. Why are they so sad? And that's there every day, regardless, even if you're not on psychedelics. It's just like, can you tune your instrument finely enough to live most fully? And that's why I really admire psychedelics, is that done properly, over time, they teach you to live the most full version of yourself, whereas drugs over time teach you to live less of yourself, I think. And I'm not saying that drugs are all evil. Like I'm drinking whiskey. Like there's a line with everything, but I've very much put them in two different categories, and I treat them very differently. And I see psychedelics as teachers, to be taken with respect, and drugs as, what's the word for that? Like gambling, like a risk, like to be taken with respect too, but with like caution, with,
it's like a woman. It's like the woman you marry. Right? Like mushrooms is like the one you're going to live with for the rest of your life, and she's going to treat you good, and you're gonna be
drugs are like all the other ones that like maybe like dabble a little bit, but like
they're nice until they start yelling at you and throwing your shit on the lawn. But all right, listen, we got 8 minutes left. I know Paul's got our producer Paul in the bag. What's up, Paul?
Dude, we could cruise forever. Like we've barely covered anything.
We could keep going. I know Paul has other stuff, so we're gonna have to do this again soon.
Yep.
So we got about 10 minutes. I had a whole number of guests. So I guess I'm just going to we didn't get to, or a number of questions I was going to bring up, and we didn't get to do any of these. So I'm just going to do some rapid fire.
Yeah, let's do some rapid fire.
Yeah,
I suck at rapid fire, but I'll try to keep it quick.
What do you think of Shane Gillis and the ESPYs? Did you watch it?
What do you mean?
Shane Gillis hosted the ESPYs.
Oh, I didn't see it. No,
you didn't see it.
No.
Okay, all right. We'll move
I
on.
probably saw some clips, but I love Shane. Shane's hilarious.
It's really good.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
He definitely. Listen, I'll tell you this. He killed for 10 minutes on stage, and none of the athletes got any of his jokes. There was about 10% of the audience that understood it, and 90% sat there and
that's the good shit.
You felt like you were in a room of old money, fucking higher
wasps.
Oh, just I'm so special. Make me laugh. You know what I mean? It was. Go back and watch it.
Put Shane in that room. Yeah, I got to. So when I did Rogan's podcast, Joe gave me tickets to the mothership that night, and I got to watch the Bottom of the Barrel set that night. Was Joe went on stage and with Shane, and they riffed for an hour together, and it was hilarious. It was so cool to get to see Joe in his podcast setting, and then to also get to see him in his comedy setting back to back like that was so cool.
Isn't that weird?
So much respect for and it really helped me understand why is he this way here, because he's this way here. Joe is a comedian, and it was so cool to see that merge.
How good was Shane on stage?
Dude, Shane's hilarious, dude. Shane's so good.
He's so fucking good. When you got to see him on stage, anybody here that has not seen Shane Gillis live on stage, you don't notice it. We were talking about energy and somebody walking into a room.
Bingo.
That dude comes in and you're like, oh my God.
I'm ready to laugh.
Yeah. Do you know, so I forget who it was. You remember he got booted off of Saturday Night Live? He got hired and then fired for some dumb shit.
Yeah.
Well, the owners of it or whatever, they one of those guys contacted Shane and he goes, I'm so sorry what happened. He goes, I had so many plans for you on Saturday Night Live. I'm so sorry. I did not want that to happen.
Their loss.
They fucked up so bad.
Yep.
Anyways, all right. I'm just going to rapid fire down. We're running out of time. Nuclear subs off the coast of Russia. What do you got?
I mean, they got to have more wars. Nuclear subs are fucking crazy. And they're certainly the deep state is mobilizing for World War. I don't know if Russia or China is going to be the primary.
Putin and Trump
receiver.
were best boys. What's happening?
Yeah, no. I mean, to be fair, let's be real. Both sides of the war are always best boys. In World War I, the British royal family were Germans. Mm-hmm. The Federal Reserve, the guy that founded that, he was brothers with the guy that ran the Reichsbank during World War II. Yeah. So both banking sides were brothers.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that got brought up in Tucker's podcast recently with the banker guy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's ultimately the top of these wars, they're all buddies, but you got to have wars, and
brothers fight too.
Yeah.
In case y'all didn't know.
Just most don't have nuclear submarines.
All right. I should probably save this for last, but fuck it. Epstein, Trump, Israel.
I mean, Trump is obviously failing, and I suspect more and more. I used to be of the mind that I didn't think he was Epstein blackmailed, and I was probably a little too optimistic about that. I think I got that wrong. I'm not sure that he's exactly Epstein blackmailed in the sense that he got with a small child on camera the Epstein way, though super possible. But
what's your gut tell you?
My gut tells me that that Trump swam in those circles as a blackmailer more than a blackmailee. He was raised by Roy Cohn, was one of his number one mentors. And
so you think he was one of the guys that
I think he was
set these things up?
Yes. He ran pageants.
No shit.
He bought the Plaza Hotel. He bought Anand Khashoggi's boat. Both were very famous blackmail locations. He swam with Epstein. He ran beauty pageants. So it's he has all the signs of a guy that understood the industry from the top level.
And he had support from his father.
Exactly. And from all of his friends. But you don't get out of that life clean without just the fact that you ran those things, just the fact you were involved in that at all, whatever it is, that is blackmail as well. So he's made some fucking weird comments about his daughter and young girls before. So maybe he's on camera with a young girl. But even if he's not, I think that he lived a life to get him to the power he has today.
Well,
that comes with blackmailable.
You know
truths.
what? Man, that's the best explanation I've heard of this whole thing. it makes so much more sense because if you're the guy running this operation, you're not going to get yourself filmed with a girl.
Exactly. You understand that. And he doesn't drink, doesn't do drugs, doesn't smoke, and he doesn't party. He never has. And I can't help but think that like he grew up seeing how those weapons were used against people to get them blackmailed. Yeah. Like Roy Cohn blackmailed the director of the FBI for like 20 years. And so Trump knew how that worked. But that doesn't mean he got out clean. And so what's happening with the files right now, it sounds like we're kind of getting the story of like he kind of assumed, I think, that his name he was kind of in the clear because he'd like pulled it off and he'd like made it to where he is and he like never really got. So he's like, fuck it, whatever. Maybe we'll release the files. And then they go into the files and they realize that whether it was the Democrats purposely trying to dig into him, so they were trying to fill those files with as much Trump stuff as possible, or whether he was just in them in general, whatever. But Pam is like, yeah, Trump, you're in the files. And he was like, a new article just came out, a couple of pieces about how allegedly he asked them to redact his name from everything. So they had been redacting him out of everything. We're going to release those. And then they were like, maybe we shouldn't. So it's just a whole fucking mess. But regardless, he's not clean.
Fuck, I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah, but I think he was a blackmailer.
He might have been one of the pimps.
I think he was. And so, for example, Epstein claimed that he introduced Melania to Trump.
Interesting.
And there's corroborating evidence for that. And
what's your gut tell you?
My gut tells me yes. And my gut tells me that Melania is super anti-trafficking. At least Melania's kind of, she works from the shadows, but when you start to look at what she does with her time when she was, the first lady and everything since, she's very anti-trafficking. Like she's like working on organizations and foundations and like spearheading things. And I kind of wonder if she's not like, because she's of Russian descent is my understanding. Like, right. So she's coming from a world where sex trafficking is like a thing. And if she was like a nude model and then she like knew Jeffrey Epstein and was introduced to Trump. So she probably lived a life where she understands the horrors of this. And they have kids, right? His kid is growing up. I can't help but wonder if she's not whispering in his ear, kind of like, pillow talking him towards like, let's do something about this. But that doesn't erase who he is and what he's done. And so like, even if he wanted to like fix that, he might not be in a position to.
Okay.
So I think we're kind of fucked.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Moving on. One of your videos, there was a spot you glossed over, and you were talking about the Jewish Defense League and the Tupac murder.
Uh-huh.
You didn't get into detail, but I want to fucking know.
I don't have those details off the top of my head.
First off, before you start, what the fuck is the Jewish Defense League? That sounds like it sounds like a Jewish Justice League, like Marvel fucking kind of world. Like Magneto's the fucking leader of this thing, and you got Shazam. I don't think he's Jewish. He looks Jewish.
Might be. I wonder if Spike Lee is Jewish.
What the fuck is the Jewish Defense League, and what does it have to do with Tupac?
So, I'm not gonna have the details you're looking for, but I can fill in a lot of the extra because it's been super long since I did that, and I didn't actually dig super deep into that one because it was clear right from the start of like, whoa, I just stumbled across a huge rabbit hole. But the JDL, the Jewish Defense League, is one of these like Jewish organizations that are actually multitude. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Jewish organizations of various types, whether it's Jewish like outreach programs to like take kids to Israel, or it's Jewish support programs, or it's Jewish banking programs, or it's Jewish like the Jews do one thing very right, which is to have group identity. And they look out for each other, and they start foundations for each other, and they help each other. And it's like, sorry, that's anti-Semitic to say, but it's true. And it's like, props to you guys. Like, I wish that white people were like that. I wish that everyone was like that, looking out for each other and just like, and not to like, fight each other, but just to like, have some racial identity. And so once you start to dig into Jewish foundations and Jewish networks, you realize that these organizations are fucking everywhere. And there's so many of them. And if you're not Jewish, you don't know about them because they don't interact with you and you don't use them, you don't service them, like whatever. But the Jewish Defense League, if memory serves, was one of the particularly militant ones that I think was founded by Jewish terrorists that were involved in Zionism. I could be getting that wrong.
Are we talking about notorious bastards here?
No, I don't know. I don't know for sure.
Not to that level?
No, but there's a number, especially in that era.
Or Inglorious Bastards, I'm sorry.
No, not to that level, no.
Okay.
I mean, that's a very Hollywoodized version, and Hollywoodized Jewish stuff is often a little skewed because a lot of Hollywood executives are Jewish. And so Judaism is painted in a very good light in Hollywood, which is not to say that no Jewish stuff is ever good. Like there's been lots of great Jewish stuff in the world, but like there's very few movies about how horrible and evil and powerful the Jewish mob was. Plenty about the mafia. But, you know, so it's like there's a bit of a skew in Hollywood and how it represents Jewish like activities throughout history. But the JDL, if I remember correctly, was one of the more militant ones that was founded by more of like the Jewish Zionist terrorist kind of a breed. Like I could be getting that wrong, but they were doing like kind of like mobster shit. Like, and so they were high. I think they were, I mean, I'm kind of speaking beyond what I actually remember, but it had something to do with like working security for some people and then like calling in hits on other people. And it was a whole can of worms that,
So what does that have to do with Tupac?
it had something to do. I mean, I won't really remember, but it had something to do with.
It doesn't
like,
have to be perfect.
So the basic version of it, or rather like the basic entryway to it, is that the music industry is Jewish executives and black rappers, right? That the rapping part of the music industry, it's Jewish executives and artists, and there are executives that are not Jewish, but largely Hollywood and the music industry was largely founded by mobster money and Jewish executives, and so. Because of that Jewish layer of executive power in the music industry, when you're looking for a hit or something dirty or some protection, like going to a Jewish organization makes a lot of sense because of those ties that bind. So I don't remember the JDL's exact involvement in Tupac. I would have to do the whole dig all over again, which
we'll come back.
Maybe I will.
We'll come back to
Maybe
it.
I will.
It's funny. Joe's got a joke right now. He's been saying that. I guess I could say it. Where he's talking about, you know, how everybody's saying the Jews control the weather. That's why all the hurricanes keep hitting Florida. And shit. He's like, he's got this joke where he goes, well, better them than the Italians. he goes, if the Italians ran the fucking weather, he goes, it'd just be a bunch of fucking hurricanes over fucking Rhode Island. Fucking hurricane over my fucking ex-wife. Fuck that whore. I'm fucking murdering the joke, man.
And he's Italian too, so that's like twice as funny.
It's so good.
Dude, just funny.
All right, Diddy being pardoned by Trump or not?
Likely. Yeah, I think it's likely. And
what the fuck
so
is that?
Fucking retarded. Political suicide is what it is.
It makes me angry.
Trump is so out of touch with what's going on. He's such a boomer. He's such a boomer with no. You can tell that he doesn't actually interact with the internet like a regular person.
He's
just getting things fed to him.
He doesn't read.
Exactly, right? So he's behind a wall, and he doesn't have time to like scroll and like.
Why would he be getting pardoned though?
Because too many powerful people need that pardon. Because Diddy is very much the same network as Epstein. Diddy is very much like I think a lot of people think because we've never heard of trafficking before, we've never heard of these blackmail rings before, we think it's like, oh, Epstein is a blackmailer he's in his own little bubble. But no, it's like if you're going to sell kids, you have to get them from the market. And the market is a global market. And so if you're doing a blackmail ring where there are children involved, you're interacting with the global market of child trafficking. And that is a market that is like in the exact same way that like pornography seems like this just like infinite black like hole of just like fucking debauchery. But actually, when you study the industry, it is controlled by a cabal of people that, you know, don't control everything, but they are making money on 90% of that stuff. And so Diddy is 100% was blackmailing politicians and celebrities and stuff like that. And the ties that were holding Diddy together, they go straight up to Obama and the Democratic Party. They go straight up into the music industry and Lucien Grange, all sorts of powerful people that need that to go away.
All right, we'll come back to it. Social credit scores.
Fuck that.
Do you think Elon Musk's Project X has anything to do with this?
I go back and forth on it so much. I currently think that either Elon is naive and optimistic and a big kid needs to get his way. He's not that smart though.
No, he's too smart to be naive. I think it's an act.
But like, I think that Elon being so smart is largely a facade. He's very smart in his own way, but like he didn't found Tesla. He sued the founders and the original owner of Tesla in order to get the right for Elon to say he was a co-founder. He was a board member that put up the money and then took the company out from under the actual owners and the actual founders and then sued Martin Eberhard to say, fuck you, I want to be able to say that I'm a co-founder.
Wow.
Right? Like he paid people to level up his video game characters so that he could go on Rogan and say, I am the number one. I'm like the top 3.
What do you think
player.
he is? A face?
I think that he's both, because he is very smart. Like he is very like it's not like he's not running SpaceX, for example, but he's also not like running SpaceX. Like all of his engineers, all of his team, everyone he's hiring, it's like, and so I think either the generous version of it is that like he's very smart at what he does, but like he is just the manager. He's just like the face of this thing that's like, but inevitably he's building a lot of shit that's going to get used very poorly by the next people in charge.
Okay.
Or he's a fucking megalomaniacal like deep state plant that was groomed into this by his parents, that were groomed into it by their parents, and his whole family is super sketchy. And he's like the fucking Antichrist, and he's going to destroy.
We could have an entire podcast on just him, and we'll do that. Social credit scores, though.
Fuck them. Don't do them. Not okay. Completely unacceptable.
So I have this idea in my head where I think that social credit scores, like it's going to come out. It is going to come out. It's eventually going to come out. You're going to get some sort of social credit score in whatever fashion form it comes in. But I have faith in mankind that I think it's going to become the biggest laughing stock of the world. Where
I hope so.
Yeah, they're going to be like, oh, if you want better credit, you know, do you want the 8% fucking interest or do you want 4% interest? It's going to be like depending on your credit score. But I have faith in mankind that when we get to that point, that everybody's going to be like shooting for the lowest social credit score possible.
But the thing about social credit score is that when it is paired with digital money, if your social credit score gets too low, your money's gone.
Yeah, I know that.
You can't drive. Your car doesn't start.
Yeah.
And so like you got kids to take care of, right? You got to feed them. So you got to go to work. So it's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right. And the thing about social credit scores that a lot of people don't realize is that we already have them in America.
Right.
Like
credit.
Right. Well, we have monetary credit scores, but that's not the same as social credit scores in the sense of like Nick Fuentes, for example. Nick Fuentes' social credit score went below 0 when he was, 18 and got hired by the Daily Wire and started asking questions about Israel. And they're like, fuck this kid, blacklisted. And he got kicked off of every fucking website. He got debanked.
So there's no legitimate score, but
yeah, I mean, there's no score, but all of the effects of the social credit score are there, right? And so then this girl that's going to Florida State that gets in an argument with a Jewish kid yesterday, or 3 days ago or whatever, and it's on film, and she's like, fuck Israel, fuck Zionism, fuck you, you piece of shit, and she like hits his phone. It's like, don't hit his phone. He's fine. He's totally fine.
He'll get over it.
The fucking Attorney General of the United States.
That was the guy she was talking to?
No, the Attorney General of the United States put out a statement about that incident.
Oh, shit.
So, like, Pam Bondi can't release the fucking Epstein files. She can't do anything, apparently. Like, we have no arrests. We have no accountability. No one's doing shit. But a Jewish kid on campus at Florida State gets, like, in an argument with some mean girl, and the Attorney General is putting out a statement about it.
Wow.
And like her social credit is destroyed because suddenly the entire world is mobilized to destroy her life and get her kicked out of school and probably fired from her job. So like we already have social credit scores. And I just used 2 examples that were kind of related to Israel and Judaism, but like that happens for all sorts of reasons, right?
Yeah.
But we've already got it in effect and it's very powerful. But once you have digital money paired with like a legit social credit score, then it's like burn it all down, build Molotov cocktails.
All right, I got like 10 more. I'm going to save them for the next one. We got to do this again soon.
Yep, easy. It's a real joy, man. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for coming.
Totally.
You're a fucking badass, dude. Tell people what you got going on. What's next?
I'm launching an app called the Buyer App, and you can go to buyerapp.com, BUYRAPP.com.
I'm going to cut you off.
Yeah.
That Buyer App, I watched that last video. What the fuck is going on with baby food?
It's fucked.
17,000%
Don't
lead?
feed it to your babies. Dude.
Lead?
Yeah.
Is it lead?
So it's lead, cadmium,
this.
all of it. But lead is one of the big ones that was
This
in
is
there.
why
Toxic
Ian
heavy
is
metals
sitting in that
the
chair
baby
right
food.
now. Explain what's going on.
So baby food is fucked. And all these mega corporations that started buying up baby food companies and making all the baby food. And there's a lot of the stores you go into, all the baby food is sold to you by giant mega corporations. There's no founder, mom owned, none of that. It's just corporations. And in like 2018 to 20, I forget when the study was done, Congress commissioned a study, I don't know why, of what's in the baby food. And Congress got back the results, and it showed that they tested like Plum and Gerber and all the mainstream baby foods that are all these corporate baby foods. And in every single one tested out to like extremely high levels of toxic heavy metals that should not be in there, to the point of like 17,000% the legal limit of lead, or whatever the statistic was. I forget. And heavy metals are super fucking toxic to babies. And so that is like, I don't assume that it's like intentional, though maybe, get out the tinfoil. But at the very least, it's fucking killing kids. It's not killing kids, but it's certainly stunning their growth. It's giving them brain damage. It's so you have to feed your kids. You have to feed your babies real food. You have to try whatever you can do to make enough money to do something to get either the high quality, like founder owned, like there's all kinds of great companies, like Cerebelly is a baby food company that's founded by a mom who is a neurosurgeon who has formulated this baby food to be like neurosurgeon into like, she's a mom.
What's it called? Cerebelly?
Cerebelly, CERE, like cerebrum.
Yeah.
Cerebelly, like
Cerebelly.
belly.
Okay.
But there's all kinds of ones. But the best thing is just to feed them real food. And like, you have to do, and this is where I'm saying is like, everyone has to be their own journalist now, because you would never get that information if you were just, letting information flow.
Yeah.
You have to look for it. You have to
very
understand it,
trusting.
and then you have to do something with it.
We're very trusting as a
It's the problem.
as a species.
And corporations love to use that. So anyways, Buyer app relates to that. And it's this app where you can scan anything in the grocery store and not only learn what's in it, but also who owns it, who's selling it to you, and all these other features that can really just like basically turn shopping into you can have all the information you need to shop intelligently and intentionally. And there's a free version and a paid version. It's in beta right now, and you can sign up for that on buyerapp.com, and it'll be out on the App Store in like a month. And that's what I'm super hyped on. What I'm doing with my life right now is all content, all on YouTube. So follow me on YouTube at Ian Carroll Show. And I have a website that is canceliancarroll.com.
Fucking perfect.
Yeah.
I love you, brother. Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
I cannot wait to have you back on. I could have kept you here for 5 hours.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We'll do it again before I leave.
Yeah. Next time, I think we need to do either psilocybin or DMT.
Next time, we take MDMA, psilocybin, and LSD, all three at once, and then we sit down and we fucking drop it.
No, for real. Next time we do this podcast, we're going to do at least psilocybin.
Allegedly.
Anyways, I love you, brother.
Yeah.
I'm glad me and you became friends.
Oh, and by the way, everyone subscribe to Sean Johnson. He's the shit. If you don't know Sean Johnson yet, drop in, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. You're going to be seeing a lot more of this dude out here.
I got good genes.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.